Welcome to the exclusive. I'm your host, Sharon Tharp. I am very honored today to be this woman's first interview outside the Big Brother house. We have so much to talk about. She played a dominating game. I'm so excited to dive into it. Please welcome Big Brother 27's Morgan Pope. Morgan, thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Like I was looking forward to this all day long. Like I was like checking my phone constantly, like how soon is my interview? Like, and it's like the time wasn't going. And obviously I have no concept of time right now. So I'm
No.
so excited it's finally here.
Yes, and I'm so excited. We're going to dive into everything. I feel like there's just so much, and so I think we're going to just go in chronological order to keep it
Yeah.
concise. But like, girl, we have a lot to discuss. There's so
80,
many
80 something days.
so
We
many
got a lot.
days.
Yeah.
But I do want to start like general. How are you feeling? It's about 1 week out. Have you
Yeah.
had time to decompress? Are you back to regular life, or is it still weird?
I mean, it's no secret that it's weird, because you get your like it's like you're done. You sign autograph or not autographs. You sign like pictures. You do a couple interviews, and it's like here you go, and it's like oh okay like, sure like here's your phone, and it's like all these messages and phone calls and everything. It's been so overwhelming. Like the amount of love I've received has been like so cool. Like it's really a lot, especially getting like Big Brother Legends like as early as season 3. Like it's just crazy, but it's so cool. I'm still adjusting. I went grocery shopping for the first time today.
Okay, there
Um
you go.
so I'm like, getting my feet wet and everything, but it's been nice. I still feel like really great about the game that I played. I'm still like
As you
oddly
should.
people might think this is weird, but like I'm very like okay with getting third. Like I said to Julie, like anybody who wins that final HOH should take me out. Like I was fully
That
prepared for
was the
that.
move.
So that was the
And
move.
And it was funny, like as soon as we talked after the finale, I tweeted out, I said, just talk to Morgan, she's in great spirits.
Yeah.
Like that because you're a gamer, so you get the game, right? Like
Yeah.
you understand. So
Losing is part of the game. And like I've done a bunch of tournaments with some of the best gamers in the world and like Apex Legends and stuff. So it's like I've lost games before and it's just part of the game. Um
you
and
took
it
it
is
better
what
than
it
I
is.
would.
Yeah. I don't know.
Right
I feel like
after?
when you have a game that I played, it's like, how can I be mad? Like, I played the hell out of that game. I loved it.
Yeah,
I was having, as crazy as it was, I was really proud of myself. So,
you should be. You should be.
yeah.
Speaking of, have you attempted to watch anything yet? Or you're like, I don't I'm good. I don't need to. I lived it.
I honestly feel like I lived it. And at the end of the day, it is a reality TV show and it is going to be filmed the way that they want it to be filmed. So to me, I'm just not interested in watching it right now. I feel like I am like very mindful about protecting my peace and
Yep.
keeping my mindset in a really good space. And so, because I was in there for 80 something days, I don't think I want to spend any more days rewatching, at least right now, like maybe a year or two. But I've actually spoken to like a lot of former Big Brother winners and runner ups and all that. And a lot of them haven't even seen their season and it was years
Yeah,
ago. So I can see
it's true.
myself never watching my season.
I get it. Like unless, maybe you want to I don't want to watch myself back at all. Like I'm just
Yeah.
not someone who likes to do that, so I can't imagine if you're
Yeah.
on television wanting to do that, but
Right. It's like when you leave a voice note or a
oh
voicemail and you're
no.
trying to like, and you're like, oh God. And like, you have to just hang up the phone. It's like, whatever. I don't want to hear my voice. I
Yes.
don't want to. I mean, granted, I would love to see like when I started winning competitions and just seeing like me change into that, more God as they call me,
I
which is
love it.
still so crazy.
I saw people at the finale party with Morgod shirts and I'm like, "Oh
Oh,
my God."
I'm so bummed I didn't get to make it, but we had so much to do after the show with like
Yeah.
follow-up interviews and with therapists and all this stuff. So I love that there were shirts though. That's really
Oh
cool.
yeah. They came out.
I love
But
that.
yeah, I want to go back to the beginning a little bit of just like
Yeah.
how you got on the show. Like, did
Yeah.
you apply? Did you get? I don't know if I know this story.
No, so I was actually reached out to on Instagram and they were like, "Hey, like, are you interested in doing like, reality TV?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." Like, I didn't. It's funny. The woman actually had DM'd me a year before, but it's really hard to tell on some DMs like who's actually
Oh, I
legit.
know.
And
Yeah.
so I just kind of like saw it and I was like, "Oh, whatever. This is probably a fake." Well, it was the same person, so I was like, "Okay, if they're reaching out again, it's probably not fake." And I responded and then I did my first interview and I remember watching in the front room. I was watching Chelsea's season And I got a call and it was like, hey, like, we saw your interview that you recorded with, so and so, they are actually going to pass and Survivor loved you. So I was bawling while
What?
watching. Yes, they initially said that like they were moving a different direction. So I was crying because I thought I wasn't going to be on the show. And my mom had been watching the show forever. She's a super fan. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad. Like, I'm not going to be on the show my mom loves to watch. And so then I met with like some Survivor people. But then, oddly enough, I remember I was gaming and I was just like deep into a game. And I see the woman who I interviewed with on my phone. And I like tell my friends, and mind you, I never back out of a game. But I was like, guys, gotta answer this. And apparently there was just like a misunderstanding that they liked me for both. And so
Oh.
Big Brother wanted to interview me first. And then I went through the interview process and made it to top 25 and then top 20 and then was sequestered. And then it's funny because I didn't know that they tell you if you're an alternate or not. So in there, I'm thinking like, oh, well,
Oh.
I don't know if I made it or not. And then I remember going through the process and sitting in the diary room for the first time where they film all the pre-stuff. And they're like,
Yep.
so how does it feel that you're going to be in the Big Brother house? And I was like, are you serious? Like, this is for real now? Like, oh my God, I can freak out because this is insane. So
Yeah.
wild to actually get to feel like I was going to move into the Big Brother house. Wild. Like I was journaling every day in sequester about like, literally my journal and my prayers were always just like, if I can at least just make it to like the jury phase, like, please, like, I don't want to go home before jury. Like, I want to be able to help decide the winner. I honestly did not have very much expectations for myself because I feel like when you have too high of expectations, then you might overperform. I was just excited to be there. I was just like, this is gonna be so cool.
I love how as soon as you knew you were kind of in the casting, you immediately started studying like a gamer. Like, all right, I need to study everything right now.
Because I was an OG watcher. Like I watched seasons like 5, 6, 7, like shout out to my girl Janelle. Like that's my girl forever. I love her. Season 10. And then I stopped watching because I was in college and I was a track athlete in college. So like, didn't watch TV.
Big Brother's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot. And so then I started doing a lot of studying. Like I binge watched Chelsea's, Casey's, Jags, the Cookout. Like I was binging. Like I was studying comps. I was studying like even like the backgrounds of some people. Like I studied what Taylor went through. Like I studied Angela from Casey's season being a sports fitness model. I'm like, okay, was she targeted? Like I was doing everything that I could to study as much as I could and hope for the best.
That's so smart though. Like people, I don't know if people go through those lengths, but really
Probably
quick about the
not.
Survivor thing. The Survivor thing
Yeah.
is so interesting because it does make sense. Like, because on Survivor, I feel like they embrace sort of the gamers a little bit more than Big Brother does. So that's
And like the physical
not surprising.
competitors. Yeah.
Yes.
So they were like, we think you'd be great. And I remember I was just like, when I went to bed that night, I was like, I really want a Big Brother summer. Like, I don't like cool. I could do Survivor. Cause like, would I have done it? Hell yeah, I would have done Survivor. But I was like really wanting a Big Brother summer.
Well,
So
now you might do both. I don't know, Morgan.
I know. Might come back for Big Brother. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So once you're in sequester, you're studying. I think you had note cards or something. Tell me about
Yes.
sequester and what you're thinking then.
So I actually made note cards out of like, cause we got paperwork for like CDs that we could watch and movies. And there was a back one that I was like, okay, I didn't really interested in these movies. So I ripped it up into little note cards and practiced how many seconds was in an hour, in an hour and a half, in 30, like just so it was on the top of my head for tiebreaker questions. I don't know. I was just trying to prep because I was like, I don't know what we're going to walk into. Because I know like one season, like people walked in and it was immediately, a competition and someone left. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. But I know for damn sure I am not leaving week 1. I don't care what I have to do. I ain't doing it. Hell no. So I was studying as much as I could. So,
I love it. And other thing I want to ask you about sequester because it comes up in the show. Well, did it come up? Well, it got mentioned on the show. They like cut to you in the living room, and you were like, once Ava left, you were like, oh, well, I got a text that was for Ava. What was the text situation?
So it was an accidental text that I got, and it mentioned a woman's name Ava and like possible alternate, and so I was like, I don't think this is for me. And they're like, oh, no, disregard. And I was like, okay. Like, it was simple as that. Didn't pay any mind. And even when I heard her, like, when I moved into the house and her name was Ava, it didn't click to me right away. It didn't click to me until she was evicted and said that. And I was like, oh, shit. Wait a minute. Like, I got a text about that. But, like, it was just, like, so irrelevant to
Yeah.
me at the time because it was during like the pre-filming before they had even selected people. So I didn't really pay it
Mm.
any fucking mind at all. Oh, sorry, excuse me. I probably shouldn't.
No, you're fine. You can curse.
Okay.
Fine. Okay, so that makes sense because we were all like, wait, and that makes sense why you thought maybe the accomplice was Ava at some point, or no?
Like, well, I thought she was the accomplice because when they mentioned the accomplice, I looked at people's body languages and she was very like kind of closed off, like kind of looking around, kind of like which we ended up learning like Ava just is more like to herself. But I
Yeah.
was like, damn, this girl's looking real sus. But then, I got bombarded by I think it was like Keanu and someone else who was like, it's Riley and Zay. So I was like, hey, at least it ain't me. Cool. I'm gonna go with Riley and Zay too. Let's do that. Beautiful.
Love it. Okay. So once you get in the house, right? Get in
Yeah.
the house, first impressions of people. Who did you clock? Okay, like I like this person. I don't know about that person. What were you sort of thinking those first few, the first week or so?
Yeah. So I know when I was on stage, because like I was the last group to move in.
Mm.
Which is funny because we didn't know if who was the first or last, but I remember when the first group of my 8 groups, so the first 4 went in, there was a huge uproar. I'm like, oh, we're the last group. This is crazy. Like Vince, myself, Ava, and Will were the last 4 to move in. So my first impressions were really amongst those on the stage. Like I remember Mickey like fixed my hair, which I was like, oh, that's really nice. I liked like Vince was like kind of dressed like skatery, which like I always like in high school wanted to be like a skater girl. So I was like, oh, okay, like he kind of reminds me of guys I
Girl,
went to
me
high school
too.
with,
I had the
right?
eyebrow ring and everything.
Like the 90s. It was what it is. Or like, I mean, I didn't go to school in the 90s, but I mean, like, it was just like, anyone who's born in the 90s or like before, like understands.
Yep.
But going into the house, I didn't really try to like clock anyone as far as like who I'd work with. I just really wanted people to just come to me. Like I just was like, I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna rely on my social game because I'm a chatter and I get along well with pretty much anybody. And so I was like, I'm gonna see if anyone like sticks out. And I remember going through conversations and it was so loud. It was so loud. And I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to remember people's names. And I remember everyone was talking about like Oklahoma, Atlanta, South Carolina. And I was like, damn, I think I'm the only local here. And they're like, no, there's a guy with a mustache who's an LA local. And I was like, where is he? Because I don't understand half the crap you guys are talking about, this East Coast stuff. Like, where is my California person? And so then Vince and I started talking about LA and we just kind of clicked on LA stuff. And Amy was also from Northern California, but it was like the SoCal. I was like, okay, bet. Like, there's one person here that's a local. Thank God I'm not the only one because always I felt like I would have just had no clue what to talk about in conversations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's fair because you're getting to know everyone. Everyone's from different backgrounds. It's a
Right.
lot. It's almost like, an orientation at like college or something. It's so weird.
It is.
Um,
It really did feel like that, especially when everyone's like standing up. And oh, by then, like we see Rachel Riley come down the stairs. Now, mind you, I never saw her seasons, but I did know her as Floaters Grab a Life Fest. So
yeah.
I knew when I saw her, I was like, okay, she has won this game before. I'm gonna align myself with her. Now everyone was chatting about like, oh, we got to get her out, and I'm like, oh, y'all are tripping. Like I'm gonna align myself with her because when somebody who's won this game is now put into our game, why wouldn't you want to learn from her? Why wouldn't you want to align yourself with someone who has literally beat this game before? I never understood that, but I never said it out loud because I didn't want to like upset anybody if I was like, oh, y'all aren't gonna align with her. That's kind of crazy because especially because everyone was like trying to like target her, for example.
Exactly.
But
It's like you took advantage of the knowledge, and I don't know if anyone else did that. I mean,
yeah,
no one wanted to. I mean, definitely not Keanu. Let's be real. But
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just know my strategy going in was I wanted people to approach me and not the other way around because I didn't want to come off like I was gaming way too hard. I just had
of
conversations with
course,
people, and I know Jimmy pulled Mickey and I into the wine room and brought up the triple threat.
yep.
And my first tell actually on Jimmy was like he pulled us in. He's like, I'm getting a great vibe. Da da da. He's like, let's be called the triple threat, and he already had it organized. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is giving pre-planned because it's like you
Yeah.
already have a name. Like I know when I was trying to come up with names of the alliances that I was in, it took me a while because I was like, I want something good. It needs to sit. But I loved Jimmy's passion about the game. So I was like, okay, I really like this trio. This is great. And then I also had Zach and Vince approach me because they're like, we love your composure. Like you're really cool. Like da da da. So I was like, I remember being in the diary and be like, guys, I got approached to the alliance. This is so freaking cool. Like, thank God. Because I was so scared that like no one was going to want to work with me. I remember being in the shower and Rachel came up to me and was like, I really think you're sweet. Like, you were one of the people that came up to me and like, I think you're great. I would love to work with you. And then I was just like, Rachel wants to work with me. I was like freaking out inside. Like it was so cool. So I was like happy with that. So I was kind of excited just to like get the game started. Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of people weren't really wanting to talk game. There was some people who were just like, yeah, I'm not really interested in talking game right now. And I'm like,
Good luck.
okay, yeah, good luck. Good luck. Sorry.
You were, you were in that Heavy Hitters Alliance too. What were your thoughts on that group?
I wanted that to work so bad. Like it was so well like diverse. We had Rachel and like I knew that like guys like Riley and Zach were going to be really great in physical competitions. Obviously Vince was the first HOH. So it's like, of course, aligning yourself with the first HOH makes sense. And he just happened to be someone that I clicked with initially. So that worked. And then me and Rachel, I was like, this is great because it's like predominantly men. So they're going to go after the men first in the house usually. So this will be great for me and Rachel in case some people get taken out. The only problem was like Riley did not want to meet with us because he didn't want to attract. I remember we had a conversation in the storage room and he was just like, Morgan, like, I don't want to meet because I don't want it to bring too many eyes. And in my head, I'm just kind of like, well, that's the game. Like I was not afraid. Like me, Zach, and Vince were announced to the house essentially week 2 about being a trio. And like, I didn't care. I was like, look, y'all, like I came here to play a game. Like while it might not be everyone's
all
forte,
your alliances
like,
were in plain sight, Morgan.
plain sight. And it's like, it's wild to me that like we were in plain. Now, I guess the only one that wouldn't have been was the triple threat. People pinned like Jimmy and Mickey together. And then they slowly started pinning Mickey and I together after like the whole, like, Keanu was on a hunt of trying to figure out who was talking about him. And that was really hard to navigate too, because he was just coming for us. I'm like, I was like, Keanu, it's in front of your face. Oh my God, the snake comment. I was like, how? Like that was even more interesting. I don't know if it showed that on the show, but like Keanu had came up to me and was like, essentially like, he was essentially proposing an alliance to me. Yeah. But the only way I was allowed to join the alliance was if I would promise to go against Jimmy. And I'm like, so if I don't promise, you're saying I'm not in this alliance? Like, this is weird because now you're telling me about an alliance you want to create with certain people. So now I'm clocking who you're with. Like I was just getting a lot of information and I just so happened to talk to Jimmy in the backyard. And then like, I was called a snake and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go home week 1 because people are calling me a snake already. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. But you were actively trying to, save him essentially. I feel like that at that point.
Yes. Oh my God. Week 1. I remember being just chilling up in the HOH room. And I remember Jimmy was very passionate about getting Keanu out because obviously they were butting heads. And I understood that from Jimmy. But I also was like, Keanu was somebody that I initially wasn't sure about, to be honest. Mickey was one who was really encouraging me to give him a try because I guess she had a really good conversation with him and I really trusted her. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, so when I heard Jimmy bring up Keanu's name, I remember directly going to Rachel and being like, Rachel, like, like Houston, we have a problem. Like our boy is going to get targeted. Like we can't have this. And luckily, like Vince really trusted me that week. And because I remember him asking me, he's like, well, what should I do? I was like, well, do you want to put up Keanu? He's like, no. I was like, then don't put up Keanu. Like, don't put up Keanu. And Kelly offered herself on the Blockbuster, so on the block. So it kind of worked perfectly. So it worked out. I just don't know how I got integrated into being the problem when I was trying to save Keanu. That's something else they'll never understand. We obviously ended up having a conversation week 4 during Mickey's HOH. But that was stressful. I cannot lie. That was probably the most stressed I was pre-jury because I could not figure out how I got mixed into. I mean, obviously now I know how because we learned that HOH, but it was very hard to understand how it became from me wanting to, protect him and potentially work with him to being an enemy of his. And I was like, okay, well, I guess the game is on. Like Big Brother has started and I have my back against the wall. I got to fight for my life. You know what I mean?
That's what I want to ask, because I feel like you also helped steer the Zay vote. And did you mean to be so active earlier? Do you feel like it just sort of naturally happened?
It just happened because the thing is like with Rachel, she was a very driving force on saving Amy. And so like, I'm kind of like learning. I'm like a little sponge. I kept telling people, it's funny. I actually told people how I was going to play this game week 1 and like nobody really clocked it. I told people I'm the kind of player where I'm going to adapt and adjust based on the decisions that are being made. And however those decisions are, I'm going to figure it out, which is essentially saying, y'all do what you want and I'll figure it out. But like when people kind of allowed me to kind of sway certain things and allow me just to give valid points, because that's really how I worked. It was giving pros and cons and kind of leaning more on the pros of getting them out versus the cons. I wasn't lying. I just wasn't I wasn't giving full disclosure, right? So like when I saw Rachel being very adamant about keeping Amy. It made sense. Like when you look at someone like Zay, who could have been a huge competitor, you know, he didn't know the game, but I mean, he was teaching chess to everyone, including me.
That chess,
Like
man. I know.
I beat him in chess on accident. Like I accidentally put him in a checkmate, and he's like, "Oh wow, you checkmated me." And I was like, "Zay, Zay, shh, shh, like shh, shh, shh. Like you're talking too loud." Shh. You know what I mean? But Amy, like, you know, she was a sweetheart. She was never coming for the girls. And so I obviously couldn't share that with like, you know, Zach and Vince, who I was aligned with,
Right.
because I'm like, I can't tell you that she's not coming for the girls because that means you're going to go for her. But I was just trying to like weigh out the fact that like when you have someone who's a big competitor, why would you keep them in the house? You know, because that was argument for a lot of the men in the house. Like, well, we want, you know, strong, you know, fighters. I'm like, so you want to have someone harder to go against. Rachel told me week 1, the way you work is you put somebody next to you, and if the answer is no to beating them, they got to go. And that stuck with me every single time. So I'm like, can I beat Zay? I'm not sure if I can beat Zay. And if it's I'm not sure, got to go. So I just kind of navigated that way.
That's so smart, honestly.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
The other big thing I feel like around that time was this Showergate situation. And I feel like you were sort of actively defending Ashley when a lot of people were not. What did you make of that whole situation? Was it blown out of proportion, or what was the deal there?
You know, I had gotten information like from Vince where he did feel like she was being inconsiderate. But I also know when I spoke to her, I was like in the attic when it kind of blew up. And I was like, okay, I'm here. I don't know how these people work. So I'm just going to tell her straight up that like, if this is what's happening, just know that I do think it's inconsiderate. But at the end of the day, what you know is what you know. I'm just kind of letting you know what I know. Because I talked about that in the train room. And I was like, I just want you to know from me. Like, because that was just kind of how I wanted people to understand. Like, if I was in a room where people were talking, I'm gonna let you know, look, this is what I said. So that way no one can say, oh, Morgan said this. No, because you heard it directly from me. Do I agree with it? No, but like, is that what happened? Also, I'm not sure. Like, that's just kind of her thing. So the only thing I was just encouraging her was to like figure out who was talking about it and squash it, because I didn't want Ashley to go. Like, she was good for my game because Zay wasn't as good for my game. Now, had she not won that veto, she would have went home. But I was so elated when she won that veto, because I honestly feel like, you know, for her week 1, it was just a lot. I mean, it blew up. It was the talk of the town. That's all anyone talked about. And Jimmy used to always tell people like, you know, if you mess around and something happens, that's the easiest way to get evicted. And so I think that was kind of where the panic set in, because that was the issue week 1 was Showergate. So, because I remember when she won, there was a lot of guys being like, shoot, what are we gonna do now? And in my head, I was like, hee hee, bitches. Like, thank God Ashley won. And we can hopefully get Zay out, because I don't want Ashley to leave. We got to get this guy out who's teaching the whole freaking house chess. Like, how does that, he's a cheerleader from college. He's very like, you know, strong, and he's playing chess, one of the hardest games. Like, guys, like, let's be real here. There's no way we can't see him as a threat. Come on.
Yeah. You helped drive that vote. And then, so like, then we have Jimmy, who obviously is your ally. He wins HOH.
Yes.
And Mickey has this secret power, which you're the only one that she tells. Did that help solidify also even more with Mickey at that point?
Yeah, I mean, she trusted me with that. And I did not say a single word. I didn't allude to anything. Even when like Zach was 98% sure it's Mickey, I was like, I honestly don't know. I was like, because like the whole thing was like, she was around the areas when the power popped, helping Ashley. And his theory was like, well, Keanu wants to help me find a power, which means Mickey might have a power. I was like, or people helped me because I was lost. That could be the same thing. Maybe she was just helping someone because she couldn't find anything. Like, I was literally stuck in there, so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, like, I'm literally lost. What's happening? So I made sure to keep that secret because Mickey was my number one. I wanted to go to the end with her. Jimmy was our close ally. It was like the perfect week. I was really happy about week 2 until I wasn't.
Well, I was going to say,
until I wasn't.
He had to nominate a lot of people. I don't think you loved those picks. Who would you have picked?
Personally, I actually pitched Riley. The reason why I was a little disappointed in Jimmy is like, we had agreed that no matter what, we were going to tell each other everything and we were going to make decisions together because it was early game. It was kind of too early to kind of make individual decisions. At least that's what like the word was around the house, as far as like, you know, people, you know, you create alliances and all that kind of stuff. And I know that we kind of felt some type of way that he was making a lot of decisions with other house guests. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to let it fly. Like, he's doing his thing. Like, I'm going to figure it out. It wasn't until I started learning that he was telling other people what I was saying about people, even though I never said anything about those people. So he was trying to
Hmm.
like pit people against like, and it was a smart move, just too early for the move. For example, like telling Lauren and Catherine that Mickey and I did not like them and vice versa, which brings both all of us to him. It was just to me too early for that move. Um,
Got it.
and so when we were trying to pitch people, I pitched Riley because Riley was very well liked. I mean, everyone loved Riley. Riley was one of
Yep.
those people that like when he woke up and you heard his voice and his laugh and his personality, it was a great day. You know what I mean? And so I was pitching him because I'm like, he's a physical threat. His social game is probably one of the best in the house right now. And if you are trying to get out somebody, it makes sense to put somebody because he wanted Kelly out, I believe, if I remember correctly. Like it makes sense to put someone up against like Riley, because the whole word was like, if you sit next to Riley, you go home. And so it's like, why not put up somebody like Riley to ensure that your target goes home? But he
It's
put up
just
Amy, he put up Will. I personally disagreed with it, but at the same time, I also told Jimmy, like, whatever you're going to do is what you're going to do. Because like I said, I'm going to adjust to people's gameplay, like even if I agree with it or not. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just so wild. Like even in there, I remember you guys were worried that Riley was like gonna win AFP and all this. Not worried, but like that's what you thought. And on the outside, we're like, we don't see it. It was so
yeah,
different.
it's so crazy the perception in the house versus
Yes.
the outside world, which is why I'm always like, I understand people out there have a lot of opinions, but like a lot of those opinions will change when you step foot in the Big Brother house because it is totally different.
Yep.
It's totally different.
Absolutely. I know that some people like Catherine wanted to put Ashley up as a renom, which you also shot down. Like,
Yes.
did you feel like you were protecting Ashley early on as well? Because did you have a good relationship with that Ashley at that point?
Well, it's funny in the earlier season or like the earlier weeks, like we didn't really have a good one because it was almost like I kept hearing that she was talking about me. She kept hearing I was talking about her. It turns out our allies were kind of like spilling our own
Yes.
tea and pitting us against each other. And I never understood that either because I'm like, wait, why are our own allies doing that? Like, wouldn't it make sense to come together? So I never understood it. And it finally just got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to say something. Like, it was right around, I mean, like that kind of indulges more like in Rachel's HOH. But
Right.
earlier, I was like, everyone was really coming for her week one over something that the only people that really know what happened was Vince and Ashley. Like, let's be
Yep.
real. Like, nobody else, unless you were a fly on the wall or the producers, are really going to know what really happened with Showergate. So I felt like, people were so steady on getting her out, even after, like, I mean, people were just talking. And I remember being in the HOH room and shutting it down when, I heard Catherine be like, why does Ashley
Yeah.
have to be here? I'm like, why shouldn't she be here? I was so confused. I'm like, what is really the problem? Because we're playing a game and it's starting to seem like people are making it about personal stuff. Like this is a game we're playing. So it's like, I was just trying to like keep the narrative of like, this is a game, you guys. Like we're all living together for the first time. Are we all going to get along? No, but like we're playing a game here. We
Yeah.
shouldn't make decisions not based on game, So,
You
I
said the
mean,
same thing later in the game to Vince when Vince was just venting about Ashley because they never really got along,
they
and
never got,
you were just like Vince, like don't say that. Like
yeah,
she does
just drop it.
deserve to be here. We all
She
yeah, so
does.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So Lauren wins HOH, your favorite person. No, I'm just kidding. But well, and I want to talk about that because
No,
I
we
feel like
should because
that was a
yeah,
huge, I feel like storyline, and how I
yeah.
guess at that point aware were you of like how close Lauren and Vince started getting?
I mean, I actually was not fully aware until her HOH when she actually
Yeah,
told Rachel that she needed to
wait to talk to Vince.
she needed to consult Vince.
Yes.
And then Rachel came to me and was like, she was pissed. She's like, Vince better than anyone. What is he doing? Da 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 da. And I was like, Vince? I said, oh, okay. Well, now I got to figure some shit out because what do you mean she has to consult Vince? This was great for me because I'm like, okay, Vince and I are tight. I wasn't against this. I was more so worried for Vince because I'm like, oh, your target's getting bigger. Not only were you week one HOH and you got out Zay, but now you're being looked at as kind of like puppeteering Lauren. This is dangerous. Like, so I was trying to like, figure out where that started. And then obviously was from the Lauren comment. I was never against her getting close to Vince because obviously I was with Vince and Zach and they always expressed their like adoration towards Lauren and wanting her to go far, like going into jury
Yep.
and stuff. My only concern with them, which is I had several conversations, was just like, if it comes down to the alliance, us three or Lauren, like, what is the decision? And that was just really the only question I had because it's like, I'm a ride or die. if this show had not shown that I'm a ride or die, I don't know what will. Like, I was willing to go to bat for my allies. I don't care what happened. I was going to use the veto on anybody if I needed to. And so that was my only concern, was like, if we are down to get down for this alliance, I don't want any cracks in an alliance, because I started to see cracks in the triple threat, and that's what was worrying me, because when you start to see cracks, people try to break it. So that was more my thing. It's like, either we do this as a 4, or, you know what I mean? Because like, never once was it like, let's bring Lauren in and like, let's all meet. Because like, we would hang out, but it was just like, it never felt like it was fully together.
Yeah.
And I tried, you know what I mean? But yeah, we can definitely get into that, because that's a lot.
Yeah, we'll talk about it more, because I was gonna say, like, it's not like it was crazy. I mean, Vince definitely made, he was pushing your buttons, he was picking her over. Like, there were moments, so it's definitely warranted.
Right.
But around this time in the game is also when I feel like you and Mickey sort of started distancing a little bit. I feel like she was leaking information, and then we saw you in the boxing ring getting out your frustration.
Ooh. Yeah, I was. I loved the boxing ring for that. Well, because the thing is like, she started to navigate my game, or at least attempted to, right? Like, I showed her the M&M thing, and I know everyone's like, oh God, here she goes, the M&Ms. The M&Ms were so brilliant because it was color coded. I'm very much like color coding, organizing. And so like, for her, like, my assignment was Lauren assignment, literally, and hers was Catherine. And so I was kind of like, okay, I get that, but these are also people, and like, they're also playing their game. And like, while we can try to like get them to do what we want, like, at the end of the day, they are going to do what they want to do. So for me, when Lauren was HOH week 3, I wanted to keep Ashley off the block, because to me, Adrian was a much better competitor. I mean, he was second place in the first HOH. He almost beat Casey. I mean, I'm saying almost. Casey obviously destroyed, and she is just, I love her. But he was very close in the caught creepin'. Like, he beat Keanu because Keanu false started. Like, Adrian was a competitor. He also played chess. Like, I think a lot of people, I never said this to anyone, but like, not only did I like know about Big Brother before coming in, I studied the people in the house. So like, I started seeing like who people were, surrounding themselves with, how they, if people were, okay, like, this person's really relying on their social game, because I see a lot of the connections. I see a lot of like migrating between everybody. Like, I saw how some people really liked to have, control over things. Like, that's the first thing that I peeped with Mickey, is like, okay, she really likes to have control. So like, I'm going to keep this in mind, because this is going to come in handy later in case I need to use it against her. Unfortunately, I never wanted to, but these are just things that I was clocking about certain people.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah. So like, when it came to the M&M stuff, we just kind of started like organizing and doing all that, which is why like, in the driving force for Lauren's HOH, when it was coming of like Ashley versus Adrian, I really leaned on Adrian having a lot more weight to his competitive aspect, which isn't an insult. Like, I mean, Adrian would have done so well in this game. Like, I wholeheartedly believe, because one, he was an honest guy, and he didn't ever tell a lie. He just omitted lies, or like omitted the truth. I mean, so it's like, to me, that was very dangerous, because I'm like, okay, like, I can't get enough information out of you. That is scary to me. And I also had got caught wind that I was going to go on his block. And so I was just like, which also, this my block, your block, I think is so funny. It makes sense though. Like, I never.
It does. I'll admit, it makes sense, Morgan. I find.
Come on, guys. Like,
the game is evolving. Okay, fine.
It is. It's so funny. But like, I was like, okay, like, not only is he going to potentially put me up on his block, but this guy is likable. Like, yes, he's a little bit more on the shyer side, but he's very likable. And I found that like, he was very intelligent, very respectful. Like, I was like, oh, this guy, very sweet. I was like, okay, he's going to be a very good contender, because that is the kind of ally I want. We had a conversation about it where I was like, we never really connected. And I think by then it was kind of far little too late. And so that's why, like, when Lauren ended up putting him up, I was like, oh, thank God, this is perfect. Because to me, I also told Lauren, like, Ashley has already kind of had discourse with the house guests. So you kind of want to keep somebody in who is going to kind of have a target kind of gravitate towards her, than someone like Adrian, who nobody was talking about Adrian. Like, to me, I feel like Adrian would have been somebody like a Kelly, where you put them up on the blockbuster and you send them home. Like, I mean, during her HOH, Adrian went up to send Kelly home, but like, Kelly was the blockbuster queen. Like, she was one of the best mental competitors in the game. And I loved Kelly. Her and I connected week 1. Like, I loved Kelly. Like, she definitely was rubbing people the wrong way with certain comments, but I don't think she truly meant any harm by that. I just think because she never saw the show and didn't understand the dynamics of the game is what kind of got her in trouble and got her repeatedly up on the block.
Yeah, I don't know also if she like was fully aware of the live feeds and like what was happening because like she would
Yeah.
instigate stuff, but then like halfway through the game,
Oh,
I
for
feel like
sure.
she realized about the live feeds and she was like, wait, I don't know. Again, this is my like guessing,
Right.
but yeah, Kelly was an interesting one. Did you realize how close that Will and Adrian vote was? Because it was close.
No, it's so funny
It was
because I
close.
remember Mickey came up to me and she's like, because this is when we saw like a herd of people for the first time really get into it. And I remember when I spoke to Vince and Zach the night before, they were 50-50. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna give you guys my input. Whatever you guys do is what you guys are gonna do. And I didn't realize how close it was because I don't know, I just felt confident that Adrian was gonna go home because it made sense. I felt like my arguments made sense. And I was like, hopefully my arguments will sit with people and understand that like Adrian versus Will, it should be a no-brainer on who should go home. And if it's not a no-brainer, then who am I playing with? Like respectfully, you know what I mean? Because it's like when you have someone who is a strong competitor already, not saying that Will couldn't have been. I mean, Will beat me in the Jack the Dipper. Like everyone thought no, I said, okay, Will, I see you.
I
You know what I
love
mean? Like
Will. Yeah.
I love Will. And I think a lot of people in the house, like we're underestimating a lot of people. But I saw
Yeah.
Adrian for who he was as a competitor, and I was hoping, but I did not realize that it was coming down to the wire on that vote, which I think is so
Yeah.
juicy.
I
I think
know.
it's so juicy.
You pushed it forward, and it works out.
Yeah.
But when Riley wins the HOH the following week, obviously before Mickey
Whew.
takes it over, man, you
Yeah.
you you were in trouble. I feel like, right?
Oh yes. I mean, going into that competition, I will never forget when I like came out and it was like the most beautiful experience when I had, when we got put into groups. And it was funny because one thing for me is I always listen to the directions. And so when Lauren, as the outgoing HOH, was reading the directions, I was like, wait a minute, like we shouldn't be grouping with people. But by then everyone was just kind of very, to me, it looked like timid almost, to kind of like really try to like make moves. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like I got Ava, Mickey, and Rachel, like this should be fine. And I remember when it was like, they had to pick someone, I was like leaning in, getting ready to discuss. They're like, Morgan. I was like, okay, sure. Like, why not? But it was like so cute because it was like a girl power moment. They're like, you can do this. We're all holding hands. It was so cute. I loved it. Came out, like, destroyed Zach's time. I felt so good about it. And then Keanu, of course, the beast that he is, like, that was so impressive to watch. And the fact that it came down to point 0.8, I was like, okay, like, this guy's a competitor. Like, this is good. I'm learning more about these people because, you know, I never underestimated Keanu. I did feel like he was going to be a huge competitor. And it was very interesting how he was like, bye. I was like, damn, like, okay, bet. Like, now I see, that you're coming for me. Cause like at the time, he still didn't know who was talking about him. And it was just so funny. Like, I mean, I was pissed, but I was also like, hey, this is part of the game. And like, it was also quite hilarious that like the next round he got out because Rachel, now let's talk about that moment because that was
Yeah.
like the first time where I was like, oh, I'm inspired. Like, Rachel is a beast. Like she is diabolical. I taught her that word this season. Like she's diabolical because it's like she made sure to attach herself to Keanu. And I mean, I don't know if Keanu knows this now, but like knowing that Rachel and Vince threw that to make sure like Keanu didn't win was just like I was just sitting there like a proud parent watching, my children compete. I was just like, look at them go, like throwing this game knowing that he wanted to win so bad. But then like you said, Riley won and I was like, well, that didn't
Yep.
work out for me. Like it was going so well until it wasn't. And I remember Mickey was panicking and she's like, oh my God, Morgan, like, what do I do? So in my head, I'm like, oh, like, okay, this is great. Like you're leaning into me about using your power. Like, let me get to work. So I went directly to Zach and Vince and they had informed me that me, Mickey, and Ashley were probably going to be the nominations, probably with Rachel as a renom. So I went to her and I was like, girl, it ain't looking good. Like, it ain't looking good for us. It's probably going to be us. And she went in there, obviously used her power. And that was probably the most intense week
Yeah.
pre-jury that I think we all experienced. Before I'd probably say like Rachel and Keanu's HOH, because those were very strong HOHs as well. But that was really intense because I think by that time, a lot of people had been doing research around the house about who was where, who had what powers already, because everyone already knew or Kelly had one. People didn't kind of had word about Keanu's, but people didn't know. And so I was like, okay, like this is scary. Now, luckily, Mickey had told Rachel about her power. And of course, Rachel goes to work, makes sure that like Ashley's in on it. And it just happened to work out perfectly. But that was kind of like a very hard week for me to
Yeah.
encounter because it definitely shifted um my relationship with Mickey and the triple threat in general.
Yep.
That was probably like one of the hardest weeks for me personally. Not only finding out that like she had been the driving force behind telling people not to trust me, and I never understood that because I gave her everything that I had. But when I was also going out to try to create relationships, I was always getting pressed about like, oh, I saw you talking to this person. What were you guys talking about? And I'm like,
Yeah,
wait,
she
like
said that all the time.
all the time. And it was just kind of like the way I was, playing as when it came to Mickey was just being very like because she was such a dominant person, I played on more of like the, oh, like I'm so sorry. Like because it's like two dominant people,
Yep.
it ain't gonna work. And so I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna keep all this information as much as I can. And like if I need to somehow use this, I will. But that was just a really, really hard week. I mean, when we went into Flee the Scene, we wanted Keanu out because Keanu was just adamant that me and Mickey were cooking our way to the top and we were just coasting through and all this nonsense. I was like, dude. And then in Flee the Scene, it was like so crazy and it was intense just to see Keanu have so much composure. I mean, he killed that competition. It was
Yeah.
wild. And I mean, that was my first mistake because I never looked behind
Oh.
to see. I'm like, Morgan, hello, are you in there, girl? Like, you were relying so much on your social game. You forgot to like, I don't know, think for a second. But that was my first competition because I didn't get picked in veto or in the
Oh,
vetoes.
right.
And like that was the first time that my chip was actually pulled. Um, but like I every day before like I competed throughout the season, I always said like, whoever is meant to win this competition, let them be best for my game. And that was the first time I ever prayed for that. And that was when Keanu won. And I remember when he won, seeing Jimmy just like catapult through the ceiling and like jump on him and be excited. I was like, me and Mickey were both like, I'm sorry, what? Like it's Mickey's HOH. You know that he's coming after both of this. Something's not adding up because there was no support on our end of like, damn, Mickey's target is now coming off the block, who is also coming from my other ally, Morgan. Like, this is an issue. And that was when Mickey and I had our first sit down being like, something isn't adding up. What is it? And that
You
was
had
like
like a long
also,
conversation with Keanu in the HOH, didn't you?
yes. So he came out, he was going around saying, his apologies to Ava because of like
Yep.
how he spoke and whatever. He was outside in the backyard. I remember prior, Zach and Vince had always told me, like, hey, like Keanu has no idea that, like, about his, desire to get you out. So just keep it cool. And so I had been keeping it cool. And I honestly don't know if Keanu did or didn't know. I didn't watch the show, obviously. But at that moment when he came outside to apologize to me and Mickey, like something hit me being like, you know what? Like, nah, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done with this potential narrative that I've been doing all this stuff. So that's when I just like, I was like, look, Keanu, like, let's be real. I think we need to have more than just a conversation of saying sorry. Like, let's go up into the HOH room. And that's when we had that huge conversation. And I loved that conversation. That was probably one of my favorite conversations of the season with him, because I honestly feel like that was the first time I could see Keanu for being himself rather than like this, you know, I don't want to use the term bully, but at the time, like when you have someone hunting you down and talking about you, it's kind of hard not to think that like that was something negative. So I won't say bully, but like as somebody who was like on a negative impact to my game, right? So
Mm.
it's like when I spoke to him and heard, and when we finally agreed to tell him, I finally felt like a weight lift off my shoulders because I was like, okay, finally, whew, like he knows that it's not me, it's not Mickey. Like my final two is me and Mickey. That was really my main concern. Like as long as me and Mickey are okay, I'm good. And so that was great for us. But by then, I was just at the point where I'm like, if Jimmy is willing to play both sides, so much so to where he's telling people that me and Mickey don't like them and saying this, and obviously being the driving force as well behind spreading my name around, I really don't want him in this house. And I feel like working with him isn't going to be beneficial because anytime we tried to get information from Jimmy, it was very just know I'm handling it, or we're in a really good spot. And it's like, I need more than that. What do you mean I'm in a really
Okay.
good spot? Who am I in a good spot with? Who am I not in a good spot with? I that's kind of how I function with Vince. Everything that I got, he got every single piece of information from every single person because that was the person who I fully trusted. This is obviously after Mickey had left, like fully trusted. But
Right.
that week, I had told Mickey, I was like, Mickey, like me personally, like we function and we're telling each other everything. Now, granted, I obviously didn't know that she wasn't telling me everything. She wasn't telling me that she was telling people not to trust me, but like I never went behind her back. I never like wanted her to leave. I was hoping that us two would make it to the end. So when I had found that out about Jimmy, I was like, yeah, Jimmy's got to go. And luckily, during her HOH, she had a lot of people tell her that Jimmy had to go. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like now it's not going to look like me. It's going to look like the house, which is even better. And it worked out.
Yeah, I remember that so vividly, seeing you guys in the HOH bathroom, like, okay, we got to get ready. Okay. And then Jimmy comes up there. And I think from a fan perspective, that move is still controversial because,
Mm,
yes, I do think Jimmy was playing both sides, talking to a lot of people. So I think that's totally fair. And also from your point of view. But I
right.
do, and this is just me, I don't think he actually wanted to turn on you guys. I think it was just more
Right.
of like he is probably being a little messy and it got
For
back to
sure.
you. So
Absolutely. So I
kind of thing.
know when we spoke to him the night before, I don't know if they showed this, but like Mickey was in and like kind of grilling him on a lot of questions. And I was very quiet because I'm like, this is her HOH. Like, I'm gonna let her do her thing. She was asking questions, and we caught him in a lie. So one of the lies
Got
that
it.
he had said was um initially Keanu had pulled um Kelly, Vince, himself. So Keanu had pulled himself, Kelly, Jimmy, and Vince into the storage room after the Adrian vote to create an alliance. And Jimmy told us that he kind of like brushed it off as like, oh, I don't know about that. Like we can revisit later. And it's like everyone knows in Big Brother, you don't turn down an alliance. So that
Right.
was kind of like a red flag for us. Well, I checked in with Vince and Vince laughed and he was like, no, Jimmy pulled us. So I was like, oh, T, bet. So then when we went up for the HOH and had the meeting the night before with him, we checked him one more time. And this time, Kelly was the one who pulled them into the storage room. So it's like now we have two different stories from Jimmy. It just wasn't adding up. So we knew that he was lying to us. And that was kind of like, okay, the night before, that's a problem. And I remember Jimmy pulled me into the have not room and we were sitting down and he was just like, should I be worried? And that was the first time that I lied. Like I can count on both hands how many times I lied this season. That was one of the first times that I lied because I was like, damn, like this is Mickey's HOH. This is my girl. I don't want to ruin her HOH. And I was like, honestly, Jimmy, I was like, she's HOH. You were HOH last week. Like you had a lot of questions, or not last week, like 2 weeks ago. Like you had a lot of questions. I think she has every right. She's probably getting all this information from house guests and just cross-checking what she knows. And like
Hmm.
because we trust you and because you are very well integrated in the house, it makes sense why she's asking you. Like I tried to downplay how well integrated I was and upplay his because he was well integrated, but like I think the issue was that like a lot of people were clocking that he was, like you said, being a little messy. So I tried to tell him, like, you know, maybe just go talk to Mickey. Like, I encourage you to do that. But like by then, you know, the decision was already made. And to be fair, us rushing around, we were not told when the meeting was going to happen. When we found out it
Yeah,
was
I
going to,
heard it
because
was
like
early.
it was early. We've never had that before. And so I
Yeah.
remember when I went up in the morning, we were slowly getting ready. And she's like, okay, like we genuinely, because she said, she's like, I do not want to blindside Jimmy. I was like, I don't think we should. And so we had like a plan to like basically talk to him about it. But then when we got the time limit, I was like, oh shit, this is not good. And so
Yeah.
I tried to get him in the kitchen, try to pull him up. And I was like, she couldn't get it out. I was like, Nikki, you gotta tell him, like, you gotta tell him, girl, because like we don't have time. And like, otherwise, because you don't want to blindside him, like this, don't blindside him, you know, because like, I mean, me personally, I don't know what I would have done if I was in a position, but like, it was just more of like, get it done. So we obviously talked to him. And it was really hard because it's like, when you have an ally that you find out is kind of like being messy, it's tough. Like this is why they say it's really hard to separate personal from game, because it's like everyone came here to play this game because Jimmy was a super fan. Like he loved this game. Like it wasn't like we were just like, haha, Jimmy, we're gonna get you out of this house. It's just more of like,
Mm.
damn, Jimmy, really? Like, damn, that sucks. Um,
I
and
feel
Jimmy
like from a
left.
viewer point of view as well, we were like, oh, damn, we wanted that
Yeah.
alliance to last a little longer, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the triple threat was my number one alliance that I was going to take as far as possible. Like I thought it was very well rounded, but it just ended up not working out that way, which is why I ended
Yeah.
up leaning more on like Zach and Vince alliance kind
Yep.
of thing, but still having Mickey be my number one.
Well, speaking of Vince, Mickey did briefly consider putting Vince up and you shut that
Oh,
down. How
oh,
important
girl.
was it for you to shut that down?
It was extremely important because I was at that time trying like to integrate the four of us together because
Yep.
I thought I was like, Jimmy is being really messy. I don't know how much longer he's going to have in this house, but Zach, Vince, and I, they felt good about Mickey. The four of us could actually be very, very good at this. So to me, I was very confused why Vince was an option to her. And so I shut it down because I'm like, I know Vince. Like, I know how much he wants to be here and I know how much he is playing this game. and sending somebody home that would not put us up didn't make sense. Now, granted, you can
Right.
flip the coin being like, well, Jimmy wouldn't have. And it's like, well, Vince also wouldn't have either for me. So like, obviously I'm going to lean more on that, but
You felt more solid with Vince at that point. That makes sense.
yes. Yeah.
But I will say, once Jimmy went up and went home and everything, I do feel like that sort of fractured a relationship with Rachel a little bit. Did you feel like how,
Yes.
I guess, did you underestimate at all how deeply that might like affect her in that
I
moment?
truly was not expecting that. I could tell because Rachel, like, when Rachel and you are not on good terms, like, and I could feel it, but like, I was also the kind of person where I never wanted to pressure anybody into a conversation. Like, I knew when she broke down and went and like kind of stormed off, I was like, okay, I'm going to give her some space because I'm pretty sure I'm probably the last person that she wants to speak to, or one of the last people. Um, and that was like really hard for me to navigate because I respected Rachel and I wanted to work with her. And I never really, I didn't realize until like when they were attached to the hip doing their BBN news and shipmates and all that stuff that they were like as tight as they were. But I was just like, you know what? Like, if this is going to be a move that gets somebody out that is potentially going to be spreading a lot of stuff over the season, and I have to kind of go against Rachel for a little bit and hope to align with her again, like it's worth it to me. Um, but I
Got
was
it.
definitely unaware that it was going to be that detriment. Like I knew it was going to hurt her because like when we did have conversations, she did say, she's like, yeah, Jimmy was messy, but like Kelly should have gone. And to me, Kelly and I had a great relationship. She was never coming for me. So it was hard because I'm like, well, Kelly and I was never coming for Kelly. I think a lot of people wanted this Kelly Keanu block, but Kelly was never going to touch my block early season.
Hmm.
I just never went HOH to prove it. So that was just also hard. It's crazy when you're in the Big Brother house and like you make a decision that's best for your game, but it can also hurt other allies' games, which then kind of brings this kind of friction, and you have to figure out how to navigate that friction.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan, you were one of the best people to do it, I will say, at
Thank
navigating
you.
that. And the following week, Ava wins HOH. I think she considers putting up Vince and Zach, I believe. And what was your
Yeah.
mindset during that whole situation? Because now she's considering your allies.
Yeah, so that was a lot for me. That was definitely the first time where I was like, shit. Like I thought last week was bad. This is
Yeah.
like by far rock bottom. Like these are my guys. Like I know that like they're going to be great competitors. Like I mean, Zach had a great social game. Like everyone loved him. And Vince, while he, was a gardener as they called him, like people still went to Vince. They still relied on Vince. And so I was like, okay, I have like these two guys that are probably two of the best in the house when it came to social game and potentially competitive games.
Hmm.
This isn't good. And I know I was playing chess with Zach, and Ava looked at us both and was like, you guys are both safe. So I was like, whew, okay. Like we all knew Vince was going up. Vince and Ava never
Yep.
got along. So we were prepared for that. But when I saw Zach's face on the wall, I was like, oh, okay. So we gonna be lying to people now in their face. That's crazy. And I was so pissed, but I was like, I knew how close Ava was to Mickey. Ava was not as big of a threat. So I was like, fuck, this is going to be something that I'm going to have to like really reel it back and not allow myself to just like go for it. But I mean, like, I'm sure it showed a scene where me, Zach, and Vince were just raging in the gym because we couldn't figure out how Zach ended up on that block because we did the math on two people met with Ava that week, and it was Mickey and Will. And Will was never the kind of guy to ever push an agenda. God, I love Will. But Mickey, especially knowing the traits that I had learned over the past couple weeks, it started adding up. But I had to get Zach and Vince off that ledge of,
Yeah.
oh, it's Mickey, it's Mickey. And I was like, and in my head, I'm like, it's probably Mickey, but it's not Mickey. Please, it's not Mickey, because I was like, this is my number one. Like, y'all cannot come for my number one. Like you guys are like my number one boys, but you guys cannot come for my number one girl. Like her and I are trying to make it to the end, like respectfully. But it was hard because I remember being in the diary room and I was just like, there's no way that Mickey would do this to me because we're in this alliance together. Why would she encourage Ava to go after people that she's in an alliance with? I didn't ever understand it.
Mm.
Um, but that week was crazy. But that was, I feel like, the first time that people assumed that I was playing their game rather than my own. And I think this was actually the first time that I was showing the kind of ally that I was. When I have two people, not just one, when I have two people on the block, like, and I know how Keanu was moving, I know that he had approached me at one point and was like, hey, like I peeped who was speaking to Ava. We need to get an alliance and go against Mickey, Ava, and Will. I was like, oh, little do you know, those are people I like. So I'm going to just go ahead and run to Mickey and tell her. I was not expecting her to put that against me. I never understood that
Yeah.
move. I don't think I ever will understand that move because like the whole driving force of that move was to because she wanted to keep Keanu. I wanted her to see Keanu in a different light because she really liked Keanu, but I was also like, girl, this is the same person who was trying to get us out because we were cooking our way to the top and all this stuff. Like, yes, we squashed it with him, but now he's still coming. Like now because he said, he's like, Morgan, I trust you, but I want her out. So as a good ally, sure, I could have been like, okay, great. But it's like, Mickey was my number one. You come for my number one, you come for me. So I told her. And then that's when I had heard that you see the boxing scene. And that one was really tough for me. Like the boxing room where I was like crying and like, that was really tough for me because it's like, I thought I did the right thing by trying to fight for Zach and Vince to stay off the block. And I didn't think that that was as important because she was safe. Keanu had the votes no matter what. So like the only way I could potentially flip those votes was getting Mickey to see it because Mickey had a lot of influence in the house to potentially flip those votes. So that was like a really hard conversation because like I was very much backed into a corner, felt like this horrible person of like, oh, you didn't tell me this right on time. And I'm like, yeah, because you're safe. Like Vince and Zach are on the block. I can't have them go home. These are two of my strongest allies in the house. If they leave, now I am down one more strong ally. I have to potentially find one. We're already in week 5. People might have alliances. Like this is dangerous for my game. Like respectfully, like this is the least of my worries right now is whether you're going to be safe or not. Keanu's on the block. We can send his ass home and not even worry about it. So what is really the question? I never understood that. And like Keanu and I had like a conversation about that scene because that was like a lot because it's like I basically just let, Mickey kind of come at me and let Keanu gaslight me because it's like, guys, I knew what I said. Like, there's no way I'm just going to come up with these names. That was just really tough. There was a lot of times in the house that I feel like a lot of people didn't actually see what was going on. But I was like I said in the diary, I'm like, I'm going to take it to the chin. I'm going to deal with it and figure out how to navigate this like later.
Interesting. Yeah.
But yeah,
Vicky,
that was hard.
that week, she slips up a little bit and somehow convinces. We were worried that you were going on the block because we were worried that Zach was going to use this power. And then,
Yes.
Mickey sort of somehow got Ava into the idea that like, oh, maybe Morgan should go up. That week was tricky. Like and then Zach obviously doesn't use it. So it's like, okay. But,
right. And what's interesting about that is like, I didn't even know that Mickey was suggesting I go up. I just started doing the math. I had heard from a lot of people that Ava's untouchables was Lauren, Catherine, Riley. Well, the only other 2 people were me and Ashley, and she was tight with Ashley. So I was like, well, your girl's gonna be the renom. And so I had told Zach that, and Zach was like, well, I don't want to take myself off because he thought he had the votes no matter what. And I think that was the ultimately where when you're in the Big Brother house, you can never assume that you have the votes no matter what, even if you have the best social game, because sometimes if you have one of the better social games, people will now look at that as like, oh, that's a problem. Like Zach, after his punishment, great move, by the way, picking Rachel. And they bonded to the point where I remember he was telling me that like, hey, like I want to create an alliance with you, meet Rachel and some other people. And I was like, great. But then I started like, then we see the storage room incident where Rachel kind of gives me the perfect tell. It's what I needed. I was hoping, because like, that's what happened. I went into the storage room on purpose to try to see if she'd give me anything. And she was like, if you and your friends with an S, I'm like, boom, there it is. That means me, Zach, and Vince. So I ran to Zach and I was like, you need to be careful of Rachel because she said friends as in plural. If it was just Vince, she would have been like, you and Vince think blah, blah, blah. But it was you and your friends, which is plural, which is referring to Zach and Vince. And I was like, okay, perfect. Like, I know Zach is really excited about potentially working with Rachel. And it could have been true. Like maybe because I mean, Rachel is we know that she's a loyal ally, but we also know that she's a gamer too. So it's like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to use this information and hope that like Zach will understand that maybe what he, because it's like while you were strategically picking Rachel probably strategically was excited about being surrounded by you to have potentially another shield like Keanu to not, because Rachel knew that she was the biggest target considering that she played and won the game before. But yeah, so that was just kind of where things really got dicey because it's like Zach started to realize the votes weren't there. And I remember I told Vince, I was like, if Zach doesn't realize like what I'm trying to do to make sure that he stays in this house, then like, frankly,
well, that's
he can go too.
Yeah. I mean, you picked Vince over Zach. What about it? I guess. Yeah. Was that the reason that you sort of had to let Zach go over Vince?
Well, the thing is Zach, him giving the London trip to Will and aligning himself with Rachel, he was never going to see the block. By then, that was week 5. It was 3 more weeks till jury. And his power was only good if he was on the block. Well, he was never going to get put on the block. Like, no one was going to touch him. So it was pretty much a useless power at that point. And so that was the driving factor, was like, he was never going to touch the block. So keeping Vince around, who was a target, and people were very much like, oh, we need to get Vince out. He's his social game and this, it made sense. So it was really tough to vote out Zach. So I was like, damn, a fallen soldier, like, from my alliance, like, this sucks. Like, I really wanted Keanu to go home, but when Keanu went Blockbuster, it was like, that was it. And like, I had told Vince before the Blockbuster, because Vince was like, look, Morgan, like, I know you were 50-50, which I told a lot of people I was 50-50. I was always keeping Vince, but when Zach did drop the power, it was really tough to take that, because I'm like, damn, like, I'm an empath. Like, I'm like, wow, you risked your game for me. Like, that's huge. And like, that's the kind of player that I would have been. Like, I would use vetoes on other people. But by then it was almost like part of my brain was like, okay, I do believe this is real, but is that really the driving reason why not using it? Like, I don't know.
I feel like he was just greedy.
Yeah, it seemed a little convenient, right? It's like, oh, before, like, because I'm like, in this case, when you're on the block and we knew the discourse of what was happening, that to me was something that you should have said at the beginning of the week. So it's like, okay, now I can really navigate what we can do. We can try to figure this out, especially because he was locked in with Rachel. It was easy for me to kind of navigate through the house, because a lot of people like Kelly and other people were hanging out with them outside and like making sure they had warm towels. I was gaming. I was like, okay, bet everyone's distracted. I'm gonna start having conversations. I was going around everyone. Like, I was just on my move. I was making sure to find out everything I could. And ultimately voted out Zach, which I felt awful for, because I remember he was like, can you shout out my mom? And I'm like, I'm about to vote your ass out. I'm sorry. Like, damn.
Zach.
Sorry. I mean, but hey, he left with 10K and he left with a good 10K social game. You know what I mean? Like, I think he can at least commend himself for having a good social game, and the fact that he probably would have never touched the block. You know, like, that's not a lot of people can say that in a game like this.
Fair. I do want to ask about, because there was a discourse and a lot of people think that, like, you know, you, Vince and Zach were very close, but people, you know, thought that you were romantically interested in Zach, and that also complicated sort of things. What is your sort of version, or what did you believe when you were in there, and your relationship with Zach?
It's no secret that Zach is hot. Like, let's be real. Like, guys, we're not blind here. Like, Zach is very attractive. Like, let's be so for real here. Like, he's an attractive guy. Like, he was like, I remember one time we all talked about like what our intro was. He was the one shirtless person. So we're like, we used to joke being like, don't forget to get your quota, having your shirt off. You know what I mean? Like, did I find him attractive? Yes. Was he a flirt? Also, yes. So am I going to obviously flirt back? Yes. If a guy is flirting with me, I'm going to flirt back. But then when I started hearing like all these, like, oh, Morgan is like obsessed and stuff, I'm like, okay, let's be real here. Like, yes, I'm flirting, but this is also my alliance member at the end of the day. I don't give a flying shit about anything else. Like, I came here to play a game. And if I have to flirt with someone to advance, then yes, that's going to happen. But at the same time, that was never what I wanted to do. So I remember him and I had to sit down in the hammock where I was just like, look, I'm hearing this, I'm hearing that. Like, let's just squash this. Cause like, I'm wanting to work with you. Like, I don't care if you are interested in me or not. Like, you said that you didn't come here for a showmance. Neither did I. So it's like, let's just squash it, because I didn't like the fact that I started not trusting him because I heard that he was talking about me. And I was just like, damn, okay. Like, I thought that we were all on the same page of like having each other's backs. But when I start hearing people talk about me, that's when I'm like, okay, like I said, poke the bear and you're going to find out. Cause it's like, that's just not cool to me. Okay. So that's that. Like, I mean, I think it's no secret. I mean,
good looking guy. You're in there for 3 months.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
You mentioned the Rachel thing. Yeah. I guess what was your takeaway? Cause like, it was tense, like that storage room sort of jury thing.
Girl.
But it seems like you actually were like kind of gaming that conversation too. Like, oh, okay, clocking this, clocking that. That's interesting. Cause as a viewer, I was just like, oh, this is tense, you know?
Well, because like the one thing I knew about Rachel was like she was a very intense player. People like the one thing I knew that people said is she was a savage. So I was like, okay, like like she's very passionate about winning this game. Like there's no way she would have left her family to play this game if she didn't want to win. And I think that narrative that was floating around the house wasn't true. I'm like, guys, she's won this game before. You think she's just gonna come back to like give it to us? No, this girl's gonna go hard in the paint, no matter what. So it's like, when she came at me in the storage room, I was like, okay, like fire. I like this. Like, this is good traits of an ally, but I'm on the enemy side right now. So like, this isn't good for me. But like, I really enjoyed the fact that like, I could see pieces of Rachel in an ally that I would look for, which is like, tenacity and like drive and like being very like, oh, you want to come for me? Like, bring it on. It's like, okay, Rach, now I'm going to come for you. Bet, like for sure. But I respected her for that because it's like she didn't put up with no shit.
And that's the thing, like, she wins HOH next, and she puts her targets right on the block. You're on the block, Vince is on the block, Mickey's
Oh
on the
man.
block.
Vince and I had a bet on whose picture was going to be first in the memory wall. This is the thing. I think a lot of discourse right now that I've been seeing is like, I never saw things coming. I knew I was going on Rachel's block. Now, I did not understand. Actually, I do know. I just was unaware that the person who told Rachel I wanted on her block was my number one ally, Mickey. I did not realize that she did that. So I remember being in the train room and Mickey was very adamant about, to me, Will and Ashley, like, we need Rachel out. Rachel's got to go. So obviously for me, I'm like, okay, sure. Rachel's got to go. Like, let's do it. Fine. Like, cause like she did come at me in the storage room. I was pissed about that. My feelings were hurt because I was like, I'm like, Rachel, wait, what? I'm on your side. What do you mean? Like, I don't want to come for you. Now I'm questioning if you're coming for me. So now I have no choice but to come for you because anytime you have a question about somebody,
no, it's true.
That's it.
You're
it's
right.
a wrap.
Yep.
So I will say a lot of house guests were teasing me because like when I lost the HOH, I was smiling, but it's like, guys, I went in a mental cop toe to toe with the Rachel Riley. I beat Kelly. I was like, okay, girl, like I can't, okay. Like I started being like, okay, like I can compete in these mental comps. Like I can do this. Like I'm feeling more confident about my game because I came into the house wanting to win when I needed to, not when I wanted to. So like the first like 5 HOHs, I never really felt threatened until Ava's because I knew I was the renom. So that's why 6 was really important because I'm like, okay, I need to get week 6. I didn't get week 6, but I was really proud of my performance. I mean, like it wasn't just like I just lost to Rachel. It was like we went back and forth. Like it was a tie, like Kelly went, and then a tie, and then Rachel won. And it was really funny because I don't know if they showed this, but there was a tie between Rachel and I. And I remember I was looking down counting blocks because I was like, maybe they're going to ask about blocks next. And I remember I looking at her and she was like, Morgan, I really need this. And I was like, I know, Rachel, because like on a human level, I cared about her so much. And so when she won, she was crying in her room. And like after I did my like dramatic scream, I went over and I hugged her because I knew how much that meant to her. And I think a lot of people just like underestimated the fact that like I was able to separate personal from game. Like I was genuinely happy for her that she won because I knew how much she wanted to see her family. Like, did it suck that I lost? Yeah, because I'm going on the block. But I was happy that she got to win a competition because she used to say like, I haven't won anything. Like, she was this powerhouse during her seasons. She wanted to win something. And so I cared about people in that house,
I was going to say that, Morgan. I was like, let me commend you for a second because I get it. You're in there for 3 months and a lot of people vent and say some nasty things and it's up to the person they're talking about to forgive them or not. You really never got personal. Like, I feel like if I was in there, I'd be venting and bitching about everyone. And I just felt like you were always like comforting people. And I felt like, how did you hold that together?
It's hard because it's like, I mean, I'm a gamer in a man's world, right? Like I have been told the worst things under the sun for just being a female gamer. And it's like, I know what happens like when your mental starts to disintegrate and you start to think the worst of yourself. You start to think that like people hate you or like, you're not liked or all these things. So it's like, I just never wanted people to get that way. Like I always would tell people like, I'd tell the DR, like, I want people to play their best game because it's going to make me play my best game. Like, I don't want people to like not play their best game because then it's like, well, no, I want to see what you're capable of. So I know what I'm going against. So I can actually start like gaming some more. So it's like, I really cared about Rachel, like, and even losing, like, I mean, I hugged her. I was like, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. And like, even when she said, like, she's like, I knew when you looked down, you were going to put me up. I was like, Rachel, like, cause it's crazy. Like we never actually got to talk before the nomination ceremony. And that was something still to this day that I was like, a little disappointed in because she had phrased it as if like, I didn't take the time. I had interrupted 3 one-on-ones with her and every single time she didn't want to talk. And I respected that. And I was like, okay, well, like I said, I'm going to take it on the chin. I'm going to go up on this block and I'll talk to her after. And I think when I talked to her after, that was the first time, like, it was like a woman to woman conversation. Like the game was to the side. Like it was more of like, I love you as a person. I was never like attacking, anything. This was strictly game, and I understood that. Like, I never thought that she was like being this like evil person or anything. It was just like, she won the comp. She was going to put me up because she heard I was going to put her up. It makes sense. I would have done the same thing.
Exactly.
And I honestly feel like that was the it wasn't even like an intentional seed, but I think the fact that I literally said to her face, yes, Rachel, I was going to put you on that block. I remember leaving the HOH room being like, I just told Rachel I was going to put her on the block. Like, Morgan, pretty sure you should have lied there, girl. But I was like, you know what? If I'm honest with her and she does maybe come around to wanting to work with me, she's going to come back to that conversation and remember that I was honest with her instead of lying to her, because Rachel is a ride or die, very similar to me. And so I was just like, is it going to hurt if I lie to her face? Yes. So I'm just going to tell her the truth. I'm already on the block anyway. It's not going to change the fact that I'm not on the block. It could if she won the veto, but at least, she can know that like I'm not lying to her. And I feel like that actually, in my opinion, was like the seed that was planted that formed the judges.
Yeah.
Because if I had lied to her, she would have never wanted to trust me in the alliance. And I feel like me just being vulnerable and being like, look, Rachel, like, this is why I thought you were putting me up. Like, this is all this, and just gave it to her. Then it's kind of like the ball is in her court and she can decide if she wants to pass it or not.
It's true. That week, I feel like helped sort of repair that relationship. And I want to commend you again. I feel like for some reason, I don't know, like when people get on the block, I understand people scramble. You were calm, cool, and collected. I feel like you weren't running around crazy. Like, I don't know. I guess because you're a gamer, I was like, oh, she's going to be like panicking. And no, you were having conversations. You were, and it was dire for you. Like, it was a 5-4 vote, obviously.
Oh my God, that fake out.
Let's talk about that.
My God. First of all, before we do that, let's go to the veto, because I will say I do know about the veto discourse when it came to my conversation with Lauren. And that's something that truly breaks my heart, because I know that when Zach had left, Vince was very adamant about how much he adored Lauren and wanted to work with her. And I was like, great, like, let's do that. And I always extended olive branches to her, and they just never connected, even though like multiple times, like for example, after Zach left, she had told me like, you and Vince are the only people I trust. So I was like, this is great. Like, we're just going to kind of fill in the spot with someone who honestly, in my opinion, was much stronger of a player than Zach. Like, she was well-rounded. She was a Big Brother super fan. Like, she wasn't a threat because she was so nice. Like, she's like the nicest thing that's ever walked this planet.
She is so nice, by the way.
So I was like, okay, this is great. Like, this trio will be really good. And she just never wanted to align. And I tried and tried and tried. And even on like the veto, like I remember that was the first time that I actually like showed weakness to someone by being like, I know I don't have the block. Like, cause I remember the night before Vince and I got the M&Ms, we were going over numbers and I did not have the votes no matter what. And I was like, oh my God, if I don't come off this block, I'm going home. Like, and I remember crying to her being like, I know that if I don't come off this block, I'm going home. And granted, the perception, yes, you are Vince's number. Like, you and Vince are very, very close, but people also put us four together when Zach was still here. So it could work. Now, when she basically shut it down, I did what I thought was a great move, which was like, okay, you know what? It's not gonna be me. Bet. Let's chalk it up, because the whole point was getting the veto used. So then we went into, this is why the veto should be used on Vince. Let's talk about perception. And I basically put my gamer hat on and I was like, okay, like, let's get her to use this veto on Vince. Vince is your closest ally. Like, I believe Zach was her number one. So it's like, now Vince is kind of stepping into that position of being one of your closest allies next to like Catherine and Riley. So it's like, let's make sure that this veto gets used. Like, this will be like, she was worried about perception. I was like, Lauren, everyone has been kind of like putting you guys together in general. Anyway, like, this is not going to be bad. And so I was really encouraging her, because the thing is like when I was studying the players, like Lauren was very sweet. She was very like tenderhearted and also a little timid when it came to people that were very like abrupt with conversation, like Keanu, like Mickey. Like, I was very unaware of like how Mickey approached Lauren's HOH, for example, of trying to get Ashley. I was very unaware that was like kind of how it went down. But I know with Lauren, I was just like, I always did pros and cons. I always was just like, look, if you're worried about perception, like, this is the perception from my end. And this is from the perception from other people's, because I had spoken to other people. So luckily it worked. I mean, it was very terrifying, because it's like, she waited to the last minute to use the veto. But thank God she used the veto. I was like, whoo, okay. Like that was a lot. That was super stressful. But like, she used the veto. Thank goodness. All is well. And then Riley goes up, and that fake out was crazy. Now, the blockbuster was wild, because the way we were positioned, I couldn't see any of their numbers. Where Mickey on that right side, if she looked up, she probably could see the numbers of our boards. So she might have had an advantage. I'm not exactly sure, because I couldn't see it from her POV. But
it wasn't filmed well either, by the way. We were like, what is going on?
So all I know is I just wanted to beat Riley because
Yep.
I knew Mickey was in danger. And I did not let anybody else know because Keanu gave me so much information that week. He's like, Morgan, if you're sitting next to Riley, like you're going, he's like, anyone sitting next to Riley is going home, but Mickey is the target. Like all you have to do is beat Mickey and she's gone. And in my head, I'm like, oh, like, because even then Mickey was still like on my list of people to go. But I was very strategic about that. Cause I'm like, Mickey is still good for my game, even though she's not good for my game because she was good for other people's games like Will, Ashley, you know, that needed her. So I was like, great. Like, I'm not going to come for her. I'm not going to try to like, cause I could have tried maybe some more to try to make sure she left, but I'm like, I need Mickey to win this blockbuster. Like, because if Mickey doesn't win this blockbuster, she's going home and that can't happen. It just so happened to work perfectly that she had the most beautiful role, a 38 out of 40. I was like, oh my God, like, how did you do that? But I remember I was very nervous going down the stairs because I did not realize how close she was to Riley. She, like, when we were kind of all gathering
It was so
in the living
random.
room,
We didn't understand that either.
I
We didn't
did
see much of
not.
why.
Yeah, I just know that they would meet a lot. So after her HOH,
Okay, yeah.
when she took over Riley's HOH, she made a deal with Riley that like she wouldn't put up Catherine and like really brought them close. I think she misread that by thinking that like Riley was going to forget about it. But anytime I talked to
No.
Riley, he always mentioned
Yes.
about that HOH
was
takeover. I was like,
pissed.
ooh, I was like, Mickey's in hot water, but Mickey low key, I've been finding out has been throwing my name under the bus. So like, girl, you're on your own. Like you threw me a life, like you threw me off the boat and didn't give me a life vest. So I'm gonna do the same. Like I'm not going to protect you, but I'm also not going to come for you yet. Right. So it's like, that was really difficult, but that fake out, oh my God, Julie Chen was.
Did you die? Were you like,
oh, my soul left my body. Like I could see it floating. I heard Ashley's gasp. I could feel Will's like, I don't even know. I just felt it and I was just like, but it was weird because at the same time, in the back of my head, I knew I had the votes to stay, but it still didn't change the fact that I'm like, okay, Vinny, Ava, and Mickey are three people that could flip the vote.
yeah,
And it
was
is scary.
shaky. Yeah.
It was scary. And so I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna give faith to my allies. Cause the pitch that I gave to Ava was the most beautiful pitch. It was like, I was like, Ava, I know Riley is a great friend of yours, but I am somebody who is protecting the people that you love in this game. And she couldn't argue it. Like Will, Mickey, Ashley, those were people that Riley was essentially, I don't know if he was actually coming after. I know he was coming after me and Mickey, but still like Will was going to be renommed just because anyone who sat next to Will went home. So that argument alone, like really encouraged Ava. And I know Ava and Vince had a conversation that evening about Mickey. So they were like adamant about getting Mickey out. Like Vince told me that night, he goes, Morgan, I know you don't want Mickey to go, but like, she's got to go. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I hope Mickey wins this blockbuster because otherwise we're in trouble. And that was also a crazy like transition to my game, was surviving that vote.
I was going to say, this is when your
I-
game ignited, I feel like.
Yes. It was like, everyone was saying like, this is when Morgan died. And well, actually, no, it was the wall comp. The wall comp was when Morgan died and Morgan
right after, yeah.
But like that was kind of where I was like, okay, like we took out the head of the snake without even realizing it. Like I told Rachel, I was like, Rachel, that was the best move. We all went to her HOH after and was celebrating it like after she renommed him. And, you know, I remember Mickey was pissed. And that was the first thing I clocked. I'm like, wait, why are you pissed? Like, it's happening. Like Vince is coming off the block. All three of us are supposed to survive. It was such an interesting feeling that week, knowing that like my number one ally was actually more pissed that I survived. And I was like, okay, at this point now, you gotta go. And so when the wall comp came, you know, I was, God, so excited for that damn wall comp just to land my ass into a have not and just fall off the thing and have a bruise for 6 weeks. It was funny because I'm just like, oh God, here I go, like being this girl who's like, I'm gonna win this comp and I'm gonna do this, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like,
I mean, it was a running joke, but like you also made up for it later. Whatever.
Yes.
You made it up for it. Also, your ally won, so that was good.
Thank God. I mean, Vince was so solid up there. He was so solid. And I remember sitting next to Ashley, and Ashley was very like expressive. She was like, oh, and I was like, Ashley, shh, like, shh. And she's like, you think Vince is good? I was like, dude, Vince is solid. Like, he's an endurance guy. Like, I knew that about him. Like, he loved endurance comps. And when he won, I was like, oh, thank God. It was beautiful. It was a great HOH. And the one thing that I feel like I was shocked on is like Mickey did not read that I knew she was going up on the block the second Vince won that HOH.
Yep.
And I was hoping that she wouldn't be able to tell, because the best thing, and this is I did on purpose, I didn't go up to Vince's HOH to try to like have a one-on-one with him because I knew what he wanted to do. So I just kind of let that be the narrative of like, I was like, Mickey, I haven't been up there because I didn't. And everyone saw that. So it was like, even Ashley was like, yeah, I'm like Mickey, like she hadn't gone up there. So it was perfect because I'm like, okay, like I know Vince wants Mickey up there. Fine. Like if she has to go out on my allies, like it's not, at least it's not in my hands. Like I'm not going to complain.
Yep.
And that was also a really tough week because then we see like the bathroom scene. And that for me was also just another thing where I'm like, damn girl, like I'm going to again take this to the chin. But I think sometimes when people break their composure, it's like you learn a lot more about them and you learn a lot like more about how they're playing. Cause that was really difficult too. Cause I'm like, I personally did not feel that I deserved that type of backlash. Especially because it's like, a lot of people in the house were not appreciating how she was playing the game as far as really trying to take control over everyone. But it was hard because it's like I cared about her and it was like there was no way I could stop her from kind of like the snowball that she was falling into, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
I
when it
feel like
came to
from
that.
viewers too, like from our,
Mhm.
it feels like she got a little bit of HOH-itis when she took over, and it's sort of
Yeah.
kind of skyrocketed after that. Is your relationship with Mickey, is that something like you think maybe down the road you'd be okay, or is that something you're like, well, we're not really
You
like,
know,
well, I guess what do you think about that?
I feel like when all that happened and when she ultimately left, I mean, everyone saw the way she looked at me when she left the house.
Yeah.
To me, that was no secret that she wasn't going to want to be friends. And I'm totally fine with that. I know, like, we had several conversations where she did express that she is the kind of person to hold grudges. And so I was like, okay, like, I'm just familiar with how she's going to be. And that's fine. Like, everyone is entitled to their own, opinions and their own moves after they leave. Um, Even if it is just a game, to some people, maybe some moves aren't just a game. But I feel like in general, I think when people do make decisions that ultimately have their game leaving, they have to like look in the mirror and look at their gameplay and go over like, okay, what could I have done better? Or maybe where did I mess up? Like, did I feel bad about lying to her? Of course. I didn't want to lie to her, but all of us were lying to her because all of us needed her to go because
Yeah.
she not only was hurting my game, she was hurting Ashley's and Will's and Rachel's and really trying to make us all go against each other, which just didn't make sense to any of us. All of us were very confused by that.
Hmm.
And I think Vince had every right to put her up, considering that I literally had to like cry to her not to put him up, especially when he was like willing to protect her. So, it worked out that like she won the veto and she was safe for another week because honestly, we really needed that vote to solidify
Yeah.
like the next eviction for Catherine. Um, but it was hard. Like that wasn't easy for me to do, but at the same time, like it was a game, and I knew Vince freaked out when she won the veto. I was like, Vince, it's okay. Like this happens in the game. We've seen it all season so far. Keanu's taken himself off almost every
Yeah.
time. Like you're gonna get a different target out, and I think that was when I had a very like big hand in making sure Rachel did not touch that
Oh,
block.
we know. We were
Yes,
worried.
I was worried. I was like, oh my God, Vince, please. Like, and honestly, he had valid arguments. Someone who was coming after him for 6 weeks,
I
it makes
agree.
sense.
That's fair.
But I was like, Vince, like, Rachel has the votes no matter what. Like, let's go. And like, of course, brought out the M&Ms, went over the votes, and he was so frustrated that she had the votes. And I'm like, look, she has the votes. So I feel like if you really want to test this alliance, you really want to test it. This is it. This is what's happening. You're having a choice. Do you believe in this alliance and do you try it or do you not? And he was just like, if I go home next week on her HOH, I swear to God, I was like,
He
Vince,
just didn't
just
want to feel stupid, which I get.
yes,
I
a
understand
hundred
that.
percent, a
Yeah.
hundred percent. But
Yep.
I do feel like ultimately that was a great move for him, and
100%.
more
Uh-huh.
importantly, me, because the judges formed and it was solidified after that. I mean, we unfortunately, like obviously the White Locust, which we'll get into, but like that
Yes.
was huge that like he took a leap of faith because he trusted me. He literally told me, he's like, I'm only doing this because I trust your read. And I was just like, look, if I can survive Rachel's block and go from her target to her ally, that's the only thing I can lean on. Like,
Yep.
if I can do it, so can you. Because like Rachel is an ally girl, she's an alliance girl, and that is something that we need to focus on. We don't have an alliance right now, Vince. We have just us two. We can't beat everyone with the two of us. We need help, frankly.
It's so true. That set everything sort of in motion going forward. And I felt like as a viewer too, I was like, there's no way Vince is like this alliance is gonna stick together. Come on. Like Rachel and Vince have been going at it the whole game. Like no way. And like once it didn't happen, I was like, okay, maybe we got something here. So you did some great work that week as well.
It was a lot. I was working overtime. I just didn't want Rachel to be on the block because I was like, I just valued Rachel as a player. And I felt like she showed so much promise as an ally that I was like, if I can see this and if I can show Vince this, like he's going to see what I see.
He listens to you, Morgan. He doesn't listen to everybody. But okay, so then Keanu, of course, wins HOH and nominates you, Vince and Mickey. So did you
I will never forget that night.
What'd you say?
That night, I said I'll never forget that night. So before the nominations, like Vince looked like he had just seen a ghost. I've never seen him like that. And I was like, like in our attic beds. And I was like, are you okay? And he literally goes, I'm going up on the block. And I was like, I was shook. I was like, you're lying. And he goes, he's going to put me up. So now I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to clock in at freaking 11 o'clock at night because Keanu just got out of the HOH. Go talk to Keanu. And so I'm trying to figure out like, because Keanu, I could tell, I knew he was putting me up because he did not want to like look at me. He frankly didn't want to talk to me. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to talk to me because I need to figure out this information. And I remember him telling me that he was not going to target people that targeted him or betrayed him. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so I was basically implying that like, yeah, I was like, well, this person has been great to you in this. And I was like, Vince never put you up on his block. So that makes sense. I'm trying to like feed the fact that like Vince has never put you up, Keanu. Right. Like every time people were like, Keanu, he refused. Vince stood on business and never allowed Keanu to touch his block. So Keanu was not giving me enough. And so after that, I was like, all right, well, here we go. Round 2, where Vince and I are probably going to be on the block together. And when we saw that, I was just pissed because I'm like, damn, like Vince never wanted to ever betray Keanu. I think for him, it was like, because I was on the opposite side of the house, that it looked like he was betraying Keanu. But in fact, it was just, he was trying to keep our duo alive while still having his allies as well. But yeah, that was a hard one because I was like, okay, like this is a stacked block. Like, well done, Keanu. Now I have to make sure that like I survive this block. And more importantly, Vince. And so I remember after the nominations, having a conversation with Keanu. And I was just like, look, like, let's talk. Because like the thing with Keanu is like, I knew him to be an athlete. He was very much, I don't want to say he was like egotistical, but he was the kind of person where he fought so hard week after week to win vetoes. Like he deserved to be there. He had so much resilience and like, but he did enjoy talking about how he would be good at the competitions. It was no secret.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think that's fair.
So I like really leaned into the fact that I was like, look, Keanu, like I have always said these prayers about whoever is meant to be here after each competition. And every time it was you. So like, I'm trying to figure out like, what am I supposed to be doing here with you? Because I feel like time and time again, we're always tested and it's always butting heads. Like at what point are we going to see that maybe this is something to do? You know what I mean? And that's when he proposed me, Vince, and I'm so used to saying me, Zach, and Vince, me, Keanu, and Vince to work together. And I was like, oh. And then this is when the whole veto thing that everyone's talking about, we got to talk about it because so I remember after that conversation with Keanu, he was like, he told me straight up, he's like, I went from not caring if any of you left to you were my target. Like he didn't care if anyone left, but he wanted me gone to then Nikki being his number one target because of my conversation with him. Because basically I told him, I was like, look, Keanu, your speech, let's talk about it. Because you're saying that I'm throwing you under the bus every chance I get, but you're not looking at the optics. The people that you mentioned, Ava, Will, and Mickey, like those are people that I was working with. So of course, if I'm aligned with somebody and I hear somebody else telling me that they're going to come for my allies, wouldn't you have told your ally? I was like, now granted, it was unfortunate that she threw me right under the same bus. I'm just getting fucking ran over left and right trying to survive. And unfortunately, like that brought us here. I was like, but I'm telling you this because like I did that because I am a loyal ally. I'm trying to protect my allies. We are not on the same page. So he really understood that like it was never a malicious thing against him. It was more of just like he didn't read it right. He did not read where my allyship was. He thought it was only Vince, and he just didn't see that I had a lot more allies in the house than he thought.
Mm.
So after that, that's when, the whole veto thing. I mean, I'll give him an award for being very passionate and trying to encourage me to use it on Vince to be like, oh, America's favorite player. I don't know if it showed that, but like, I mean, in the HOH room, he was trying so hard to get me to use it on Vince. And he's like, you'll be America's favorite player. This is like a Tucker move and da da da. And one thing I knew about Keanu, he was never very expressive or explosive when it came to moves. He was always very calculated, like a gamer, because he did play games. And so I'm like, okay, you're doing too much, which tells me this is fake. Like, it's just, I clocked that something was not right about his over enthusiasm about it. Especially for me, I'm like, Keanu, like, I get it. Like, you want me and Vince to stay, but I was also just your target 5 minutes ago. This doesn't just change into us being besties. So it was just very interesting. And so when I went downstairs and got Vince and, told, Keanu said the veto plan, right? I remember challenging, I was like, sure, I'll consider it. Like, let's consider it. Like, and then that's when he did the bait of Lauren. And he's like, well, no one wants Lauren in jury. So like, I'll put up Lauren if you use the veto on Vince. And I was like, okay, like that sounds great. Like, I'll think about it. And I knew he was bluffing because I'm like,
Yeah, he
why
was
would
not gonna do
Keanu?
that.
I was like, why would he put? Because like, in my head, I'm like, why would you put up Lauren? She's never came for you. Like, granted, she did put you up on her block, but like, to me, it didn't make sense. So I remember going downstairs and I was in the storage room with Vince, and I was like, Vince, I was like, just hear me out. Keanu thinks I'm stupid because he thinks I'm really going to use this veto, knowing that I was just a main target of his, and he wants to pitch Lauren, knowing that everyone in the house had already known that he wasn't going to put up Lauren. So
Right.
I was like, I'm going to Uno reverse card him, and I would like you to come with me. And so he came up there with me, and I don't know if it showed this, but that's when I was like, Keanu, like if you really want to work with Vince and I, then me coming off the block or Vince coming off the block should be interchangeable. It shouldn't matter who it is. And if you're going to offer Lauren to go up, then it shouldn't matter who comes off the block. Because if you want to work with us three, why would it matter who comes off? Because if your argument is like, well, you'll be a vote for Vince. Well, that's crazy because Vince will be a vote for me. So what are we doing here? And so that's why at the end of that conversation, I was like, look, if you really want to sit there and say you're going to put up Lauren, then you'll put up Lauren regardless. But I knew he wasn't going to. I knew he was going to put up Ashley. And I think a lot of people thought that like I didn't see that, but it was not hard to tell that he was bluffing because word had already gotten around that he was trying to align himself with more people, including Lauren. And I was just like, it didn't make sense for his game to do that.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to keep Rachel in the game, which is why I was like, Ashley's probably disposable to him because Rachel is his shield. Ashley was just a
Ashley was going to go
shield.
up for sure. Yeah.
Ashley was going to go up for sure. And that she did.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, though, and even as a viewer, I was confused because Vince was in on this in the sense that, like, him and Keanu talked about this. Lauren knew about it. And I'm thinking, wait, Vince, like, Morgan's your number one. Like, what are you doing? So there were points where I'm like, I didn't know if Vince was lying just to Keanu, to the viewer. Like, I couldn't tell almost. And then I do think Vince pulled back and was like, wait, no, like, no. Like, once you started talking to him, I think he was like, yeah, like, no, this is not good. But I do think there was a point where we were all like, oh my God, like Morgan's gonna do this. Like, what? No, like.
So it's funny because like what I did is I started going around the house and dropping seeds as far as like, I was like, guys, like, what if I would use the veto on Vince to see people's reactions? I was like, I might do it just to see. And I remember Rachel was like,
that's smart.
Morgan, what? No, because I wanted to see who was really pushing back versus who was like, oh, really? Like, that'll be a good move. Like I didn't get much, but I did get to see people who were more very adamant against it. And so when I knew Rachel pushed back, I knew Rachel was also close to Keanu and they had conversation. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to use this veto on anyone but myself because it's too risky. And even if I did the math, even if I did use it on Vince, I also was going to struggle with votes against Ashley. And so I'm like, respectfully, like I'd rather stay in the game. And if Vince were to have gone that week, if he didn't win the blockbuster, I would have been crushed, but no offense, better him than me, right? Like I just wouldn't have made sense. But that week worked out perfectly because Vince won the Blockbuster, and I was so happy because I was like, oh, thank God my number one ally survives the Blockbuster, and we're about to officially have the biggest blindside of the season. I think people thought Riley was a blindside, but that was like one of the most, I can't even explain it. It was incredible to have the entire house on the same page of getting Mickey out. Like I remember the night before I was in the wine room with Ashley and Lauren, and we were basically encouraging Lauren, like, cause like Lauren did not want to lie. And we felt so bad. I was like, Lauren, it's okay. Like all of us are lying. Like I haven't even been lying. Like I've been lying to her face, but like, you can do this. Like all of us are doing this, and like, just go with it. Well,
she's
Mickey
too pure for this game.
like, oh, her bless her little soul. Like, I know. And like, she really didn't want to lie, but like, I was like, all of us are doing it. I remember Mickey walked by, and I guess she confronted Vince when he was in the shower and was like, you know, Morgan, Ashley, and Lauren are talking. What is that about? And like, Lauren looked at us, and we were like, go, 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 go. Like, and she like went and left to that. Like, this is when she was a have not. And then like her and Ava were whispering. And so then like Mickey confronted me, and I was like, we were talking to Lauren about the Blockbuster because Ashley's never done Blockbuster, or not Ashley, like, oh yeah, Ashley's never done Blockbuster. So, you know, like we were talking about reindeer games, like we were just kind of coming up with some BS. Now I knew Mickey, and I was like, so glad I studied people because I knew Mickey wouldn't have been able to let that go. I had to go and wake up Lauren out of her sleep and tell her what the conversation was with Mickey, Ashley, and I. So when she got asked, she would know what to say, because I was like, if Mickey gets any wind that it was not about a Blockbuster conversation, we are in some shit. Because
like, what were you talking about?
Yeah. So I was like, Lauren, I scared her, poor thing. I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, is everything okay? Even Ava, I was like, guys, it's okay. I was like, Lauren, I was like, we were talking about the Blockbuster in the wine room, okay? Like, and she's like, okay. She's like, and she was so cute because she's like she was just like worried. I was like, it's okay. Just I got your back. Like, just know that that's what we talked about. And Lauren ended up telling me that like Mickey came and asked her what they were talking about. So I was like, oh, thank God I fucking studied my allies and enemies, because it's like, that could have gone really bad, because the whole point was just to her not get wind. And that was a crazy blindside. Like that was insane. I can't believe the whole house pulled that off, to be honest. I was really scared that someone was going to catch wind, just because Mickey was very adamant about checking everything. And the fact that everyone was in on it, I was like, wow.
It was beautiful to watch. Wow. It was nice.
Yeah.
There was a brief moment where Keanu did consider backdooring Rachel. I don't know if you...
Oh, I remember that. Yes. When he came up to me and he's like, so tell me right now, like, would you vote out Rachel? And I was looking at him like, first of all, there's no way I went to work week 6 with Vince to make sure Rachel didn't go up on that block to now have this. Absolutely not. And plus, I did not trust Keanu, because I'm like, first of all, you just tried to get me to use the veto on somebody else to still do the same thing. And you think I'm going to trust you to not go and tell Rachel that I want her up on a, like, boy, if I didn't learn already from her HOH to not ever come for Rachel Riley, trust and believe I was never coming for Rachel Riley after that. Like, it was never going to happen. And I was just like, no, like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I totally just like backed it onto him being like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Because there's no way. I fought so hard to get back on Rachel's good graces, to get back on her shit list. Like, there's just no way that was going to happen.
Yeah. We're going to talk about White Locust next. Are you good? Do you need water or anything?
I am good. I actually have some Pedialyte here. My little strawberry Pedialyte.
I'm hydrating. The White Locust twist will probably go down as one of the most hated of the Big Brother fandom ever. Let's talk about this, because, you know, Vince picking Lauren, like, this whole thing was just so crazy. What was, I guess, your perspective during that whole thing?
Well, I knew it was a setup, because whenever we had parties, we were actually allowed to have music. We didn't have music when we walked out there. I'm like, okay, look at all these nice hors d'oeuvres and like stuff and this. Where's the music? Why is there cornhole but no music? And it was a very eerie feeling. I was like, something doesn't sit right with me about this. And then Ava wins and picks Vince, which, in my opinion, those kinds of powers are very powerful, right? Yeah. Like, Ava could have really stirred the pot and picked somebody random to then just, because like the way that's designed is you pick your allies and then you pick your target.
Yep.
And so when Vince got picked, because he hurt his quad from breakdancing from a party. I don't know if it showed that.
What?
He broke dance. I think it was on a Labor Day party. Like we were all like, all of us were like dancing and stuff. We're like, come on, Vince. He goes in and like literally like spins on his back and flips. It was the most, Rachel after that was like, oh my God, I love Vince. It was so funny. I was like, oh, let me find out that all you need him to do was like freaking break dance for you guys to get along. I would have had him do this week freaking 2. You know what I mean? But
I remember he was injured, but I didn't remember
yes,
why.
That's why. That's why.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anyway, Vince gets picked, and I remember him coming in, and I remember giving him a hug, and I whispered in his ear to pick me because when he was going out, Rachel and I had met, and we're like, we need the judges to all be safe. But the thing is people also didn't listen to the directions. The mastermind basically said that, do you risk your life or do you rely on your social game? I personally never thought I was going to get picked. I didn't think I was going to get picked. I didn't think Lauren was going to get picked. I didn't think Will was going to get picked or Ava. Well, Ava already got safe. But there was a lot of people who had really strong social games that I don't think anyone was going to pick because they weren't a target. However, I wasn't willing to risk that. So when Vince got picked, I told him, I was like, to pick me. And then he tells me, he's like, well, I already promised Lauren. In my head, I was like, oh my God, Vince, like this game is designed to pick your allies. I know Lauren is your ally, but you are with the judges now. And none of us were going to pick her. I had a feeling because I was like, because he's like, I made her promise to pick me. And I'm like, oh, Vince, God, that's not how this game works. Like, luckily she did pick me, but I could tell based on her questions, as far as like, once she went and she picked me, actually before she picked me, she kept asking who I was going to pick. And that's when I was like, okay, if she finds out that I'm going to pick Rachel, she's not going to pick me. So I'm going to just act like I'm super overwhelmed. Like, oh, Lauren, like, I just need to focus. This is so stressful. Like, I love mazes. And I was really excited to do that, but I couldn't let the house guests know I was excited to do that because, I mean, like a maze, like that kind of stuff is not something that people like to do. Like, the only thing I was worried about, and the reason why I didn't want to go first, is I didn't know how fast the maze was going to be when you stepped on it. So I didn't want it to go too fast. But because Vince and Lauren came out very confident, I was like, okay, like I feel confident about this. But I'm going to act like I really need to focus and I'm scared. I'm going to go home and like blah, 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 blah. And so I go do the maze. Everyone thinks I threw it because I said I didn't press the button right away. Yeah. Honestly, in my brain, I was just worried about the safety. I really completely forgot it was for HOH. I was just like, cool, safety bet. Like, I'm trying to think, like, can Rachel do this? Like, all this stuff. Tyler Crispin was there. So I was like, Tyler, like, oh my God, like, I want to talk to you. Like, can I just like let my buzzer run out almost and like just talk to you? But like, he obviously couldn't. But going back into the house, that's when I had a conversation with Rachel and I was like, trying to explain to her the way it worked. I was like, this is all about gravity. Like when you see the ball in the crevice, like you got to follow it till it goes up to the top. Like I tried to give her as much as I could. And I never realized like how nervous she really was going. Otherwise I would have picked somebody else. Yeah. But I wanted Rachel to be safe. And so I was like, if I could do this and still have, because I told her, I was like, I finished it in this time. I didn't press it right away. She's like, so that means I'd only have a minute left. I'm like, Rachel, I really think you can do this. Like Rachel was brilliant. And so when we sent her out there, I was like, okay, like whoever goes next is going to go home, or because I think we all knew that Kelly was going to go next because Rachel wanted Kelly out. However, Kelly is extremely intelligent and she would have killed that maze like blindfolded. That girl is so brilliant with stuff like that.
Probably, yeah.
I really think she would have. And I think at that case, if she did the math, she would have picked Ashley because Kelly's main target was Ashley. And I think a lot of people, because even Ava like burst out into tears being like she didn't want anything to happen to Ashley or Will. And I think Ashley was the most in danger in that maze because she was an attachment to Rachel. And I think they wanted to hit Rachel without hitting Rachel. But unfortunately, we fucking lost Rachel. And like, I will never forget the tone in that house when we heard Rachel has been sacrificed. Like, I just got the chills thinking about it. Like everyone's like jaw dropped. As Lauren said, she was gobsmacked. I cracked up because I hadn't heard that word in so long. But I was like, oh my God. So then I started tearing up because I'm like, oh my God, I sent Rachel home. And everyone's like, no. Like this was her own doing. But I was like, no, I would have picked somebody else. Like I didn't fight for her to stay off of Vince's block, not want her to like go open a back door for Keanu, like for no reason. Like I wanted her to stay in this game. Like I was looking forward to like our jury push through, And so when she left, the only thing I took was her speech. And I told myself that every single night before I went to bed. She had said, like, in order to win this game, you have to win HOHs, win vetoes, get blood on your hands, and make a big move. And for me, that was my blueprint. I was like, okay, I'm taking this from a Big Brother winner. This is how I'm going to win this game. So I need to lock in, because if anything like this happens again, I need to be prepared and I can't lose. So I literally took that, and I took that straight to the heart, and I just turned it around. Like, I don't know what happened to me, but after I fell off that wall comp and was defeated, I was like, all right, now I know the blueprint of how to win this game. So I'm going to do it. Like, by then I had 1 veto under my belt. I still needed HOHs. I needed blood on my hands. Now, granted, I had blood on my hands just like inadvertently through Vince's HOHs, but I wanted my own blood on my hands. I was not afraid to get blood on my hands. I was ready to go to battle.
Yeah, no, it's so true. You touched on a couple of things. Yeah, Rachel, like, there was enough time left that I was like, oh, even Tyler told me, because I talked to him, and he was like, but he said that once she stepped out there, and Rachel later confirmed this to me, she was already sort of defeated. Like, she wasn't in the right headspace, I feel like. And, Tyler said he was sitting there and she just was going the wrong way. And like, it just like, yeah. But I did want to clear up. So you didn't let time run out, or it wasn't on purpose, or what was the deal there?
It was more of like, when I talked to Vince, he's like, yeah, I stood there and got to talk to Tyler for a little bit. Like, I waited for my button. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I get to talk to Tyler. Sure. Like, great. I did not even take into consideration about the HOH. Like, I really didn't. And that was probably one of the moves that I would have done differently. And that's probably the one time where I was like, wow, Morgan, like, Tyler was one of my favorites from, Casey's season. Like, him and like, I loved their duo. Their duo was electric. It was incredible. And so I was like, oh my God, it was like almost starstruck. Like, oh my God, Tyler Crispin's in front of us. Like, he is here. And I just was not worried about, like, literally the HOH just didn't even remember this was for HOH. I was like, oh, safety. Great. Safety. And then when it came down to us 3 being the choice for HOH, I remember looking at Vince, and I remember looking at myself being like, yeah, I'm going on the block. I was like, gonna say, back on the block I go. And unfortunately, Morgan, like, this is why you never like let up, and you never like step out of the gamer mode, because had I really locked in, I tried to do the math, and I feel like she was maybe like 10 to 15 seconds ahead of time. I don't know how long I waited, but it could have been this close. I still think she would have gotten it. But either way, that was my first learning experience of like, you win when you need to, and girl, you needed it then, because your ass ended up on the block as a target.
It's true. Well, you won the veto, so
I did. Oh, that was such an second BB Comics veto. That was so cool.
Iconic.
I loved that. And that was also a time when I was speaking with Lauren where I was just kind of like, if Keanu's your back door, we're kind of at that stage in the game where a back door isn't really as effective anymore, because the numbers are dwindling down. We got lucky that he wasn't picked for BB Comics. Like, that we couldn't have went more perfectly for a backdoor, but that doesn't really ever happen in the Big Brother house. Like, we got so lucky that him and Kelly, memorization queen, who would have probably killed that comp, and a physical beast. I was like, oh my God, like, the gods are out for me right now. Like, thank you, Big Brother gods, for protecting me, because I was going to be cooked probably if they were in that competition. I mean, I still felt very good about my abilities, because I'm also very good with memorization and physical things. Like, I felt like I had a very good strategy, but I was like, whew, like, we dodged a bullet on this one. But the problem is I knew, and this is where Vince and I started to have like our heads really get butted more.
Yeah.
Outside the White Locust, was like, he was convinced I wasn't the target. And I was like,
I know.
How do I explain to you, if this veto doesn't get used, your girl's going home unless I win this blockbuster? Like, and that was just kind of where the discourse between like me, Lauren, and Vince started happening. Is like, he was having a really hard time understanding that Lauren and I tried to work with her, and she didn't want to work with me for her own reasons, and that's totally fine. Vince wanted us to work together, because obviously, if I'm Vince, I want Morgan and Lauren to work together, because they're both going to take me to the end.
Yeah.
Hello? I knew that, but that's the problem, is like, I knew if I went along with that, she wouldn't take me to the final 2. And she was also just incredible. She was an all-around player. And she, in almost every one of her comps, I remember going over this with Vince during the week where I got him to nominate her, which we can obviously get into that. But like, when you look at Lauren on her stats, she won HOH, she won veto, like, she had won 2 HOHs and 1 veto in her season, or like through the season, but she was well-rounded. Like, she was the only person in the house outside of potentially like me, Vince, and a couple others who actually were a well-rounded player. Obviously not including social game. I just mean more so for competitive like
Prowess,
competition.
yeah.
Like that girl was going like she was
Yeah,
top 3 in every comp.
Tyler told me she smoked that comp. So yeah, even if you and Vince hadn't lingered around or whatever, she might have won anyway. So
Oh, 100%. Because like I did the math and I was like, yeah, Lauren cooked in that. Like
yeah.
she was good. And she also knew that from the reindeer games. And that was the other thing that I clocked with her. I'm like, this girl is a super fan. And like she knows everything. Like, I mean, she's been watching since she was a little girl. So she knows everything about Big Brother. I was just binging before trying to get all the information. So for me, she was a huge threat to my game because it's like this girl can beat me in competitions. Like, luckily, I've been beating her, but it's only a matter of time until the roles switch, which is what happened. That's why I ended up on her block.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like one of those things where I was like, damn, as much as I have tried pre-jury to work with her, post-jury, we're just not working together, Vince. And like, you gotta just accept it. Like, that's just the way the cookie's crumbling, you know?
Yeah, the thing that I didn't understand about Vince, and again, no shade to Vince, but he would still poke you sometimes, like, well, what if I picked Lauren? I'm like, Vince, stop saying shit like that.
Yeah, which is why I used to poke him, being like, oh, do you want me to use this veto, Vince? Like,
right.
You know, it's like, poke the bear, you're gonna find out. You know what I mean? Like, don't piss me off. Because there was one time I said, don't piss me off. And he's like, wait, are you really mad? I was like, no, it's a phrase. It means like, chill. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, don't piss me off, you know? But yeah, I mean, I won the veto then, and that was great because I was like, okay, cool, 2 in a row. Like, that was really exciting. And then the following week, Vince's HOH. That was the biggest game move for me of the season, was winning the veto, because I knew, and I told Vince this, I actually don't know what her plans were, but I was like, Vince, right now you have Ava, Kelly, and Keanu on the block. 2 of those people are Lauren's allies. Everyone else off the block is not her ally. She tells you she's not going to use the veto, but I promise you, she's going to use the veto. If I'm her, I'm using the veto. Like, I don't know if she would have or wouldn't have, but I would have used the veto on Kelly because Kelly was the most in danger. Anyone sitting next to Ava would go home. So again, like I said, like I won when I needed to. And God, that freaking balance beam competition kicked my ass in the beginning. And I was like, okay, Morgan, adjust because you're embarrassing yourself. Get it together. And then I just got into a rhythm, won the veto. And I just remember just exploding because I knew when I saw the nominations that I needed to win the veto and I needed to switch those nominations. Cause I was like, oh, that's not what I was hoping for. You know, I was really hoping to see Lauren up there. And it was literally no shade to Lauren. It's just the simple fact that she was the most well-rounded player. She was smart mentally and physically. Kelly was strong suit in mental. Keanu was strong suit in physical. Yes, he did have some like great mental comps that he, like his HOH was a mental competition, but he was not a powerhouse of a mental force like Kelly was. So I'm like, when you put somebody up on the block like Lauren next to both of them, I was like, watch, Vince, we're going to see for the first time this season, Kelly and Keanu sitting next to each other, like every other HOH kind of slipped on. Everyone wanted that early season, but they just didn't stack the block right. You're going to be the first person to stack the block right. And that's exactly what happened. And it was poetic. Like he wanted Kelly out. Kelly got out in his HOH. Lauren won the blockbuster. I think a lot of people were like thinking that I was just so upset that Lauren won the blockbuster. The only thing I wanted that week was for Lauren to touch the block. That's what I told Vince. I said it on live. I said it, or not like it was heard on live feeds. I just wanted her to go on the block. Did I want her out? Of course. But I also had so much like empathy for Vince not wanting her to go on his HOH because I knew that would have affected, you know, his jury vote. But at the same time, I'm like, well,
you gotta play self-interested. And I honestly don't think you need to explain the Lauren stuff so much because at the end of the day, your number one was also making her a number one priority, and that's a problem. Like, that's like the simple explanation of it all. And so to me, that was very clear, and it was unfortunate because at the time I remember being like, oh, damn, I wish Morgan and Lauren could get on the same page, but it was just never
I wanted to too. Like I wanted to too, and it just never happened. And so, you know, Kelly leaving was great because that double eviction HOH was huge for me. I was so happy I won because I knew. And I think a lot of people, like I said, maybe they thought that like I wasn't aware that I was a target. But I'm like, guys, after winning 3 vetoes in a row, everyone was like, oh, Casey won 3 vetoes in a row. You won 3 vetoes. Everyone wouldn't stop talking about it. So I'm like, okay, well, the target on my back is just as big as Keanu's and I'm in trouble. The only person who will actually keep me safe is Vince. Anybody else? Because I remember having a conversation with Ashley up on the blue couch on the balcony. I remember telling her, I was like getting choked up because I was like, I'm starting to realize, not starting to realize, I am realizing, and I know for a fact that the only way I can get to the final three is if I win out. And she just kind of was like nodding her head. And I was like, I mean, it is like, I know that. Like, I was not unaware of the optics of my game. Like, 3 in a row. I mean, hello, Keanu also had 3 vetoes at the time, maybe 4. And it's like, if his optics were that way, like, it makes sense that mine were going to be that way. And so I knew it was going to be a really rough road, but I was willing to fight for it. And I did. Like, that double eviction, like, I was fighting to protect my safety and the judges. That's all I cared about. I was like, I need the judges to stay safe, because right now when Rachel left and Will left, like, we were the minority of the house. And I'm like, we're going to get picked off because me and Vince are huge targets. Like, we need to win this. And so when I won it, oh my God, the weight was lifted off my shoulders. I knew exactly what I was going to do going into it. And even on the tiebreaker,
that tiebreaker, really,
the tiebreaker.
Throw it. What's going on?
I'll say this: when I knew it was me and Keanu, I knew that my target was going to go home. Because if I had won that veto, I was going to pull Keanu off the block, and I was going to put Ava up. Because again, just like you said perfectly, like, my number one ally was also protecting someone else almost to the same extent as me. And as a game move, that was just very dangerous for me because, and here's the other thing, and this is the other thing that I feel like maybe was not shown on the show. Lauren was in one of the best positions of the game. Ava loved her. Kelly loved her. Keanu was coming after her, and I was coming after her. Vince was never going to touch her. Ashley at that point hadn't won competitions, so I don't know if she would have put Lauren up on her block. She could have done Keanu and I. She could have done me and Vince. Like, I don't know where, like, I know that she expressed her, allyship to the judges, but it would also be no secret that if you want to make a big move, a double eviction is when you make a big move. Everybody knows that. So I'm not like ignorant to the fact that like Vince and I could have been up on the block if anyone won. So Lauren was in the best position in the game. After, like, this was kind of like the driving force to getting her on the block with Vince. I'm like, Lauren has not touched the block in 70 days. That is so impressive. Whether or not people agree that she had a good social game or not, it's the fact that she didn't touch the block for 70 days because people didn't view her as a threat, even though I did. I'm like, okay, sure, her social game was not the best in the house, but that girl is competitive as hell. And she is so intelligent and she's so kind. So it's like, the double eviction is when Lauren was going to have to go. Otherwise, she would have coasted to final 3 and probably won this entire game. And Vince refused to believe it, but he knew I was right because it's the truth. Lauren was one of the best competitors of the season, especially because she was a super fan. So I knew in the double eviction that keeping Keanu was better for my game because he was my shield. I can't get rid of my shield. I can't. I need him in the game.
It makes sense. How nervous were you for that double eviction? Because, like, I mean, you had good odds, to win, but were you nervous going in? Like, oh, this is where we're really going to see how the rest of this game is going to go.
I think in general, like, it's normal to say that, like, you're nervous for a double eviction because we know it's quick and it's happening. I just knew when I saw the HOH comp, I was like, okay, like, my strategy was actually to overthrow the ball instead of underthrow because you had to wait for it. So I was like, if I can overthrow it and then adjust accordingly, I'm going to get 5 balls on like this. And that's exactly what happened. And I mean, everyone saw I exploded. I was like, let's go. Like, I was just so happy because I'm like, oh my God, me and the judges were safe for this double eviction. Thank God. Now we're kind of changing the trajectory of the game for us being the minority as far as like 3 of us to now changing it and shifting it to us being more in the popularity of like more people that have control. And it was great. Oh my God. I was so happy about that week because I was like, thank God I'm safe because my ass was going to go on that block if I did not win that HOH.
Yeah. I do want to ask, okay, so on Kelly's way out, she says, Morgan gets what Morgan wants. And you know what?
I
laughed because I was like, girl, she's speaking for all of us almost. Like, what were your thoughts in the moment? Were you like, shh, or were you like, well, yeah, true.
Well, it's funny because I didn't hear Morgan gets what Morgan wants was with Julie. She just said Vince is going to play.
She said it on the way out the door.
She said that like, she basically said, oh, Vince and I had a final 2, da 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 da.
Yes.
And like Vince is going to play Morgan's game.
That's what,
And I
okay,
was
that's what
like,
she
and
said.
I was
Yeah.
in my head, I was like, she brought up Adrian, she brought up people from pre-jury. I was like, Kels, like,
Yeah,
this
that
is
was a little
something that you
weird.
should have, yeah, I was like, this is something you should have blasted way before. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know? But
It was
to me,
entertaining.
no, it was. And I was like, you know what? I'm still gonna give her a hug because I love that girl. But like, she ain't wrong. Like, she ain't wrong. But like
No.
at this point, it's kind of like the numbers are so small that I had full faith that Vince and myself would win more competitions than the most people that were there. I mean, Keanu was a huge threat. That was obviously the one person that I was nervous about. But we also had Ashley, who was great with mental comps. So I was like, my team, like, we're stacked. Like, we're good. I'm not worried. Like, getting Kelly out was just the best because she was going to win mental comps. So I was happy to see her go on a game level, on a personal level. Like, I loved her, and she was. It was tough to like see her go in that matter, but I was happy that I stayed.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, and I want to, this is where I sort of want to talk about the whole Vince narrative, because I do think this is where, I mean, not exactly here, but where you guys, Lauren's gone, you guys are essentially, it's your game to lose at this point. I feel like you're
Right.
setting yourself up for the end game. You and Vince are very, very close. You know, I feel like you're having to comfort him a lot. He's a little, he's spiraling a little bit
Yeah.
toward the end game because he's realizing, oh, well, we're getting toward the end of this game now. And like, I think he's just panicking a little bit.
Yeah, he is.
At
Yeah.
what point, I guess, and also like he was, once Lauren was gone, I felt like, okay, that was a big concern of yours, obviously, because she was, he was picking her over you a couple times and stuff like that. So now
Right.
she's sort of gone. Kelly's gone. You sort of have a clearer path to the end a bit. Where were, I guess, these long hugs come in? Can we talk
Right.
about that and sort of
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
what that, from your perspective, was? Because then it becomes a storyline on the show. Keanu's talking
Right.
about it.
Mhm.
Talk to me about
Yeah.
that.
So when you go into the Big Brother house, like obviously you want to connect with people. You don't understand like the level of connection you could potentially have with somebody. But when you're in the house, it is crazy. Like they are not lying about BB paranoia, where it's like when you think someone is for you, but they're against you. I mean, like I had allies against me in the first half of the game. I had enemies too. So it's like when you can find somebody that you can talk with, not only on a game level, but on a personal level that you can connect with, it's so hard to discredit that and think that that's nothing, right? So it's like when we would have these HOH lockdowns, that's usually happening when they're trying to set something up and we can't hear it, or like, they have to do something in the house that we're not allowed
You're
to
not
see
allowed to talk
people.
about game.
We're not allowed to talk about game. That's just kind of when we just got into personal stuff. Like we just talked about random stuff, like whatever came to mind. And there were times where we had like really deep personal conversations. Like I know one specifically that I shared with him that like I personally will like never share with the world, because that's just something that I'm not going to do. But that warranted like an embrace that I needed at that time because I was leaning in to a story I was sharing with him, because it's like when you're in HOH lockdown, you can do whatever you want. They play music, you can dance. There was a time where, Will was sharing about his military background and we were all sitting there, getting emotional. Like there is levels to the HOH lockdown, which means that there's also levels to relationships in the house, like friendships, everything. I mean, we had a showmance this season with Riley and Catherine. Like we saw them get super close in HOH lockdowns. It's like, those are like what we would consider like a safe space just to kind of hang out and get to know each other. And sometimes you had one-on-ones with somebody on that kind of level. So it's like those moments were where I really like needed comfort, because it's like I'm sharing something about my life with someone that I trust in this game. And for once the game is off. Like I can turn the game off and I can just relax for a little bit and just connect with someone on a human level. And like, that's something I really valued.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people and about like just in general what it's like to be in there. And so many of them mention how you miss having even human connection, even like
Yes.
touching someone. And that's why we see a lot of times on these seasons, people are sleeping in the same bed or hugging or like just laying on each other. Where like maybe in the real world, we wouldn't do that. And so I
Right.
do think that is hard to understand sometimes as a viewer because we're
Yeah,
not
of
locked in a
course.
house for 3 months,
Well, we were also one of the seasons, like if you think about like Chelsea season last year, they had, and even like Casey season, they had beds that were meant for multiple people. Ours
Yeah.
were all single beds. So it's like that's when, like, I mean, like, people saw me tucking in Kelly. Like, I was a hugger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Vince is
You were doing
just,
a lot of consoling around the house.
I felt like I was Mama Morgue sometimes, but like, that's just how I am as a person. Like, I don't like seeing people like fall apart. Like, even there was a moment with Rachel where she was devastated and she missed her family and she was crying, and I was consoling her because I'm just like, Rachel, like, you are incredible in this game. Just because you haven't won anything doesn't mean that you are not worthy of being here.
Yeah,
Or
that was
even
hard to
like,
watch.
yeah, that was heartbreaking to be there because I'm like, Rachel, like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think that alone shows that even some of the best people to ever play this game can have a low and they need somebody there, regardless of whether
Yeah.
it's a man or a woman. Like, you need somebody. Like, Vince has been applying to this show for 10 years. I had learned about this in one of his one of our HOH lockdowns. Like, he used to deliver packages to the lot. So it's like, I can only imagine how much this means to him being here and wanting to survive as long. Like, of course, like, when you connect with somebody, especially on like that deep of a friendship, it makes sense that you're going to like support each other in the way that the other person needs support the most.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, like the way that they portrayed it on the show, which I know you haven't seen, was
Right.
not very favorable, I would say.
Right.
It doesn't make Vince look like the best guy. And you
Mm.
know, there's a DR of Vince. Once he didn't get that video message from his girlfriend, he sort of spiraled a little bit and was like, am I single? Like blah blah blah. And I think that also kind of pushed the narrative of like, well, if he is single, like, does he have feelings for Morgan? And so I
Mm.
guess my question is, because you're in there and you're so close, were there moments where you like, maybe there is something more here? I don't want to talk about that right now. Or like, what were you thinking, I guess, in those moments?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like we're in a game, and granted, like there's going to be moments where you're potentially questioning something, but at the end of the day, it's a game. And it's like, could this be a game move? Could this be like, you don't know because you're in a game. Like, we've seen in the past, Dr. Will Kirby and like other people who have used their way to get to the end by leaning on emotion and like leaning on that. I don't know. Like, I actually never got to have a conversation with Vince about it because to me, that had nothing to do with the game. And that was none of my business. Like, that's everything entitled to him to answer.
Yeah.
On my end, that was my number one in the house on a game level. I had respect for him. I always made sure there was boundaries. I mean, like, even that's why like the pill fort was there because I'm like, let's
Yeah.
just make sure
There's
that
a lot
people
of
can
talk about that.
physically see that we're not like doing shit under the covers. Like, I brought my own blanket. Like, people are obviously going to feel some type of way about that, and they have every right to. Everyone is going to do something different. But what I would say is until you get into that house and understand the environment that you're in, it's really hard to form an opinion on it. Now, that's just coming from my perspective. Like,
Of course.
I made sure time after time that my boundaries were set, and I stand by that. And everything else is obviously something that like people would have to talk to Vince about. And like, I haven't even gotten the chance, so it's just
Yeah.
like at this point, that was a game relationship to me. And I think that anything else like in regards to that is entirely up for his conversation to have for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk to him. I feel like I would definitely give him a fair interview. I'm not here with my pitchfork. I think people are really,
Yeah.
really hard on him and you in this situation where
Yeah.
we've seen this happen so many times. And it's just I don't and there is a weird, sorry guys, I'm not calling you weird, but there is a stan culture of Vince and Morgan fans. Is that also weird for you? Like,
I will say that it is a little interesting because it's like, you know, did we have a great duo? Were we going absolutely
I
nuts
mean, you
during the
guys
like
were an epic
it was
duo.
back to back to
Yeah.
back. Like, I was so proud of my duo. Like, we were also just always like, there's no way a week two duo is making
Public
it this
facing.
far.
Yep.
What is happening? But it was iconic. And I literally am like so proud of him for continuing to fight and win competitions. And I'm proud of myself for doing the same thing. I mean, a lot of live feeders, tuned in, and I feel like that's really the difference between the casuals and the live feeders.
Yeah.
And that's also where, like, unfortunately, I'm going to say it, like, misogyny comes in. And it's like unfortunate that that's the case. Because I do feel like if I was a man and like, I feel like I'm receiving the worst of it because I'm a woman and essentially playing a game that leaned onto someone's emotions. But it was never like Here's the thing, like when you're in there and you're playing a game and you're given these kinds of situations, you have to do what you can to navigate those decisions. I did my best to play my game and keep my number one ally safe and moving forward to final three. And I respect him and I respect myself, which is why like those boundaries were clear to me.
Yeah.
And I can only speak for myself, you know?
And that's fair. And that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think the only other big question that people want to bring up is this like October conversation. Let's talk in October. And I think that
Yeah.
fueled people. What were your thoughts on
Sure.
that?
So October actually, like the October answer and question actually stemmed from Kelly. So we picked this up from Kelly. So in the house, we are recorded 24/7 nonstop. And sometimes like people don't want to talk about certain conversations. Like if we don't have like a family
Right.
member or somebody that didn't sign the release, we would always be like, "Oh, you know what? That's an October conversation." Or like if we wanted to talk about something that we didn't want the world to know, it's an October conversation. So when I saw him just kind of trying to like whenever we were gaming and I started to kind of like try to like try to figure it out. I was like, you know what? Like let's just let this be a conversation in October because I'm trying to game, you're trying to game.
Yeah.
Like you have your dynamics, I have my own. Let's just keep like chalk it up to the game and keep it moving forward because I did not want to allow anything to potentially distract or become a bigger issue as I was moving forward in the game with
Mm.
Vince.
Yeah. I
Because
mean, you guys were doing well. Why mess it up if you're, you know?
yeah, and it's like I said, like and like you spoke to past alums, like it's very like that house is a pressure cooker. It's literally designed to make you go crazy and think about things. And I know even at one point, like Vince was paranoid that I was going to align with Keanu. And I was like, of course not. Like the house does something to you. So when you feel like your number one ally, and more so like we used to call it like your untouchable person, someone who was never going to put you on the block, like that's like a sacred person to have in the game.
It
Like
is.
someone who will never touch you on the block, put you up, anything. Like that is something that is just the most amount of currency if I could ever speak on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
actually, now that I remember that Zing brought it up, and you got it worse. And I'm
yeah.
thinking to myself, season 16, like Christine got booed. Granted, she was married, but like I don't think Cody, I think got a zing, but like he didn't really get it as much as Christine.
Right.
Like I don't know. You're right. Like the dynamics, I think, are a little. And then we see someone like Parvati on Survivor using sort of the flirting thing, and she's a queen, and I love Parvati, by the way.
Right.
But I think people pick and choose sometimes what they whatever, based on who they like or
For
whatever it
sure.
is. So
Yeah. And like that zing caught me by surprise. I was very unaware of what I genuinely did not think that was going to be my zing. And I remember going into the diary room and I was like, what are
you
we
were
doing here?
upset. Yeah, you were like,
Yeah, like
what the
what are we doing here? Because it's like this is a friend of mine, like strictly a friend of mine. And I'm not understanding why it's turning into this. Because sure, embraces and all that and like hanging out together, of course, like that's what you're going to do with you're the partner that you're with. Mine is obviously the opposite sex. Like we saw Rachel and Ashley hanging out all the time. Now, granted, they're two women. So it was just really tough because it's like I didn't understand why a lot of house guests that I thought I was aligned with or had my back would have shared, being like, "Hey, Morgan, like just so you know, like this is what I'm hearing is being said." Like, there was a lot of things that I had heard from like aftermath, like, "Oh, well, I thought you knew," and I'm like, "Thought I knew what though? Like, what is there to know? Like, this is a partner of mine in the game as my number one game wise. What do you mean?" So it was a little disappointing, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, this
Yeah,
is a reality TV show. They are going to lean on whatever they can. They are going to take all of it and do what they need. It is what it is. Like, I of course was upset about it because I truly felt like I deserve to zing more about myself, not in relation to that. Um,
I agree. I think
but
that's yeah. I think
you
it's
know,
more of Vince's story to tell, and especially because once he was in the
exactly.
DR saying it, I'm like, no, Vince, that's definitely going to make the air because once you say it in the DR too, it's like, Okay, well, we have DRs like of you talking about it. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
and
here
that's
we
the other
go.
thing. I had one time I had a DR and they were like, "Hey, so like is your relationship with Vince like describe your relationship with Vince?" And I was like, "Oh,
Mm.
it's like my best friend in the house." And then they were like, "Oh, would you say it's platonic?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely." And that was it. I had one DR about that. That was it. And I just was like, "Okay, like whatever. Like I'm going to go back to gaming because like generally my intentions were never malicious. They were never to be manipulative or anything like that. I was just hanging out with my best friend. And like when you're in that house and the numbers are dwindling down, especially someone who I'm gaming with 24/7, we're trying to plan out, like obviously it makes sense that we stay in the same room. I tried to sleep on the daybed, but it's actually not allowed. You're not allowed to stay on the
Oh,
daybeds.
right.
You have to
You're not allowed
stay,
to
which is
have
why
them.
I did like the flip flop. Like I tried everything to make sure that like my boundaries were set and it was shown.
I
Obviously,
think
like I
that was
said, like
clear.
people are going to have their opinions and
Yeah.
like I am very much aware of the opinions. I honestly just wish that people would kind of understand that the only way you're going to really feel what it's like to be in there and feel that pressure of like the pressure cooker of that game is to be in the house, because there's been a lot of, like you said, past house guests who had went through the same thing that were in relationships or not, and it was strictly game. And it's like, why is this any different?
Yeah, I've had some say like someone would touch them, they wouldn't even notice, and then be like, "Oh, wait, the perception of that might not be great." Like, so
Right.
I agree. I feel like until you're in there, and I feel like Vince and I have a little more empathy than I think a lot of people do because I believe we're all flawed human beings, and I don't like to, I live in a glass house. You know what I mean? Whatever the
Right.
saying is, but
Yeah.
I feel like toward the end, he was so hard on himself, and I'm just like it was
I
so
know.
hard to watch because I
Yeah.
don't want someone's again, maybe he's great and his mental health's great. I just was worried about him a little bit, and I was so
Yeah.
happy that you were there because I felt like he needed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he's the kind of like when I was like learning about him early on in the game, like he was the kind of person that would public perception like in the house was very effective of him. Like he like for example, I remember the morning of the Riley vote, me and Riley, he was crying because he was like, I I'm going to throw away 5 allies for you. Like,
Yes,
this is bad for my game. And he was like, but I can't evict you. Like, you have fought so hard for me. And I know that you'll always have my back. Like, and I was like, Vince, it's okay. Like, I'm here with you. Like, we're going to work through this together. I told him that when Mickey won the veto, I was like, we're going to work through this together. Like, if he was to put up Rachel, I'm like, we're going to work through this together. Like, I have your back. Like, I feel like if anybody was to take away anything from my actions, is that like I am a loyal person. I'm an ally who is going to make sure that my person in the game, or my people in the game for that matter, are always in good spirits. They are always okay. Like even after like Vince's crash out in the HOH part 2, like that was devastating to watch.
yeah,
Like he
yeah.
wanted to win so bad and he's just falling apart. Now I know a lot of people have assumed that I was just not focusing on my game, but it was like that's at a point where like I can separate and I can compartmentalize the game versus personal. Like my friend needed help in that moment and I was willing
Yeah.
to do that because what is it going to do for me to sit there and just be like, well, figure it out. Like no, he was so defeated. And so like I had no problem doing that, like
Yeah.
at all with
No,
anybody.
exactly. And Morgan, that's why I would want you to be my ally if I ever played with you. You're a good one.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you haven't spoken to Vince. Do you hope to
No.
speak to him? Do you think he's just taking some time to decompress a little bit?
Yeah, I know like right after like on the stage, like I just told him, like I'm always going to have your back. Like if you want to talk, like you know how to find me basically. You know what I mean? We all have
Yeah.
social media. It's not hard to find people. Um and I really hope that he's doing okay. Like obviously coming out and like seeing all of like the overwhelming amount of love that I've received, but also obviously we have like just like producers told us before we left, like you're gonna have people that love you and you're gonna have people that have a lot of opinions. And
Yep.
I've been seeing a lot of the opinions, right? And it's like I said, like everyone is entitled to their own opinion. And I hope that like maybe this conversation can bring more clarity to people about like intentions and all that stuff. But like as far as he's concerned, like I really do hope that he's okay. Um, I do feel like based on how he was in the house, he's kind of the person where like the limelight and like all that is not really his style. He always used to say how he was very introverted to himself and like this experiment was much different for him because it was like he put himself out there on national television and is like, this introverted guy having to integrate for a house of 17 other or 16 other people, so I do hope that he's doing okay. I really do.
Me too, because I feel like in that sense I relate because like I love the game so much, but I could never imagine playing because I would be like Vince, and that maybe that's why I have empathy because I would be stressed out. Like even with the
Yeah.
Rachel stuff, like we were saying, he's like, I'm just gonna look so stupid, and he's panicking, and I'm like, that's he was hard on himself in those moments. But yeah, I guess and you mentioned how introverted he is, and these photos are going around of him, and I'm just like, people are thinking, oh, Vince, called the paparazzi on himself. I don't believe that. Do you
I don't
have
believe that
any
for a
opinion
second.
on that? Yeah,
No. I don't believe that for a second because I know there was a conversation we had one time where he was like, if he were to ever to make it to the end, like all he wants to do is like get a van and go travel around and kind of do his own thing because he likes
I could see that.
photography and stuff. So it's like I just don't see him doing that.
Hmm.
Um, I really don't, especially because he also got second place, and he knew like because our last conversations was like, Morgan, like I'm a lock for second. Like, I don't see him being the person who is calling paparazzi to have attention on him at all. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Um, so we're getting to the end game here.
Yeah.
You win your first HOH. You go on to win two more HOHs. You win 5 vetoes for the season, by the way. I do want to mention you were safe for technically I think it was 6 consecutive rounds, but with the elimination situation, it was like
Right.
7, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter because you beat the record anyway. So
Yeah. It's
how does that
crazy.
feel? That's very
I,
cool
I
and
actually
insane.
didn't know that that was a thing until I want to say maybe I went into a DR or something where they were just
Oh, they
like,
mentioned it?
I maybe I God, I don't think so. It might have been after. All I know is maybe it was Julie Chen. I don't know. It's so crazy because like your brain kind of gets everywhere. I just know like whenever I went to the DR, they're like, "Oh, welcome back, another veto." I'm like, "Another veto." You know what I mean? It was crazy. But learning that it was like a record was insane because I mean, I'm still kind of grasping that and swallowing that pill because I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, there's no way that that's real. Like, I remember in the first half of the game when I wasn't winning anything, I was crying. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna go home and have nothing to show for. And then it turns out I was able to like, you know, win all these competitions and have a social game to prove for it. And so it's incredibly humbling and insane because I'm like, wow, I cannot believe that I did that. Like that is wild.
And also, yeah, it is crazy. I don't think like even in just not even Big Brother world, I feel like just in general reality TV competition, I'm like, has that been done? I don't know. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I just all I just kept going. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep going. Like I'm getting closer and closer because I knew when I had a conversation with Keanu, this was like before the double eviction. I had told him in the gym, I was like, I know I'm gonna have to comp out to even get close to the end of this game. And so I knew that my target was so big on my back after those 3 vetoes that it didn't matter how good of a social game I had. My ass was going up on that block and getting voted out if I touched it. So I was
Yep.
just like, I have no choice but to rely on myself and Vince to secure my safety. And luckily I did that for myself. And it's like, I don't know. It's crazy because when you secure yourself safety, it's a totally different feeling because you know, like, oh my God, like I did it. Like I can breathe for one more week and now I can game a little harder because I don't have to worry about potentially going up on the block. I can just keep going and figure out what I need to do and all that stuff. So it's incredible. I mean, even
Impressive.
having, yeah, it's insane.
It's very cool. And you're by the way, you've mentioned this a few times, but you were. It's funny. It was very clear you were the target, even from the outside. And then as the jury members came out in my interviews, they're all like, "Yeah, it's Morgan's game to lose. Yeah, it's Morgan's game
Yeah.
to lose. It's
Yeah.
Morgan's like." So you knew that. Like it
I
was very
did.
clear.
And yeah, and I feel like the narrative of like, oh, Morgan had no clue. It's like, guys, like you know, I knew since jury started essentially. I mean, even since Keanu put me on his block as a target, I was like, damn, we're getting into jury, which is where shit gets real. Like
Yep.
that's when moves are going to be made because we're expecting a double and we're doing all this that like I need to be on my P's and Q's. Like I cannot do what I did in White Locust, which was kind of like not really care about winning the HOH. Like, Morgan, you can't do that anymore. Like, you're getting to the end game, and
Yeah.
God forbid you slip up and you go home for it. You're going to just regret it. So I just like pedal to the metal, full steam ahead. I just I had been studying, you know, my allies and enemies all season, and so I was basically like I feel like my strong suit in the game was taking myself out of my shoes, putting them in other shoes, and figure out what they would do. That's where the M&Ms came into play. Everyone was so like, Morgan, not these damn M&Ms, but like you would see me position whoever was at the top was who I was. So it's like if I had a green one, that was like Vince or Lauren. If I had a blue one, it was Will or Ava. So anyone who was at the top, it was from their POV. And I was like, okay, these are the possibilities. And I was going through every single possibility of how I could end up on the block.
That's exactly what you need to do in this game.
Yes.
Not what you want to do, what put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yes. And doing that, that was how I recognized that Lauren was going to end up in the final 3 with no problem, because she had so many people that were on her side that I was like, okay, like she has to go because she's in a much better position than me. I need to be in her position. And then as I'm slowly making myself into that position while also having a target, I need Keanu to stay because he's a bigger target. And then finally in final 5, Keanu was able to go because we didn't really he didn't need to be there anymore. And then I know a lot of thoughts after that was like, you know, oh, well, like I remember I read something about like I didn't manage my threat level. I didn't want to manage my threat level.
Like at that point,
I was like, you know what? Like 3 vetoes in a row, might as well just keep adding to it because nothing is going to diminish my threat level. At this point, I'm going to win out to the end and hope I can make it to the finals and have a speech from the heart that explains why I deserve to win. And ultimately I got 3rd and I'm totally fine with that. Like genuinely.
You handled it like a champ.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did want to ask when because you won the freaking veto again, you know, Ava goes home. Did you consider taking Vince out there? Or were like, no, I would never consider it there. Okay. No. I didn't think so, but I was like, let me just ask.
No. The only time I considered taking out Vince. Now, this is the thing that I will say. When Keanu did leave, I knew if I could win out to the end and Vince was with me, that I was going to take out Vince. Because like I said, it goes right back to the White Locust blueprint. You win HOHs, you win vetoes, you get blood on your hands, and you make a big move. So I had Ava and Lauren's blood on my hands. Will people look at Lauren as a big move? Maybe, but because her social game was not as strong as her competitive game, I don't think people would have looked at that as a big move. Vince was going to be my big move because I don't think anyone would have expected me to cut Vince. It would have killed me. Genuinely, it would have killed me. But I feel like I went into that final 4 knowing that I needed to win part 1 because he was an endurance comp beast. And if I can at least win it part 1, then I can get to part 3 and whomever between the 2 is who I'm going to face. And then I'll be able to decide if I do end up winning part 3, who I'm going to take. At that time, it was a no-brainer for me to take Ashley because she had won 1 veto. And this is before she won the part 2, while she did have a great social game to get her to where she was, I personally felt that Vince was a much bigger threat and could have beat me in the end because, I mean, look at the optics. How do you piss off the whole house? You don't have to win a veto and you make it to the end. It's like, what? It's insane. Like, granted, like, obviously everyone's going to have their different perspectives on Vince's game. And again, like that's their, opinion. But I was very well aware of like the remaining players in the house and like where their positions were and like what they could bring. I told people all season never to underestimate Ashley. I feel like I was the one person who never underestimated her. And I felt like there was more to her than what she let up on. Because remember, I would always ask her questions about this social media manager stuff. And because I remember week 1, she had mentioned that she, if I'm not mistaken, like was living in like a high rise in New York, and she didn't have to quit her job and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just picking up on little things about her life that I'm not saying a social media manager couldn't have. However, I was like, something's not adding up. Like even there was a time going into like the day of the final 3 HOH, I went into the bathroom and she was like, I'm like so far behind. I don't know what I'm gonna do for my speech. And I was like, girl, me either. And in my head, I'm like, girl, you had a veto speech planned for your renom. I know for a fact you have a speech. True. Like, let's be real. But like at the same time, like it didn't matter to me because I'm like, the way I played the game is like whoever is meant to win the game is going to win the game. So it didn't take much persuasion on me in any sense at all, because for me, I knew what I was doing in every decision, like down to every vote. I mean, crazy. I was the only person on the right side of the vote the whole
Every
season.
time.
I was
Yeah.
shocked, which is why I love the whole Morgan gets
I
what
was
Morgan
gonna
wants from
mention that.
Kelly.
That's another thing. You voted correctly every time.
I was like, oh wow, look at me go. Like that's crazy. I don't know. It's wild when like you get to like step outside the house and like look at what you did. Granted, like I said, I didn't watch the season, but like just seeing like the stats, I'm like, okay, I was really gaming in there. I love it. I love
No,
this for me.
you absolutely were.
Yeah.
When Ashley did beat Vince, were you like, it didn't matter to you? You were like, well, it doesn't matter really what's gonna go on, or
I mean, I remember I was asked like who I wanted to win, and I was like, whoever's meant to win is gonna win. Like I was happy for both of them. Like I knew Ashley had always talked about how she hadn't won a comp since week one, so I knew how much winning another comp would have meant to her, and I knew how much it meant to Vince. I was very much like indifferent because it didn't change the fact that I was still going to final three to compete against somebody to either make a decision or get sent home. Like
mm,
I think that's another thing. Like I knew if I did not win that final HOH, I was going to get sent home. Um,
yeah,
it just was it was because it's the move that you had to make. You know, that was the first thing I told Julie. I'm like, if I was anybody in that final three and I won that HOH, like Morg, love you, but you gotta go, girl. Like I was fully prepared, and I remember seeing a lot of people like on my socials and in my Discord being like, you know, you seem so checked out at the end, like your speech and this and like what happened. And I feel like people were not understanding. I mean, granted, I didn't really ever vocalize a lot about like certain things. Like I was trying to practice my speech, but it just didn't feel right. I didn't want to have a rehearsed speech. I was just kind of going over certain points. And I did end up going in the diary room and kind of practicing. But I was actually just kind of like, because that morning we were told that the live feeds were over. And I go outside and I have like this heart to heart with the live feeders because I knew that like Vince and I were up till crack of dawn
yeah.
every fucking day.
You guys were up so late, and we were all watching it. We're all like, damn, we're up on the night before the finale. That never happens. Like, what's
Right.
going on?
Yeah. And so I know that I remember someone was like, wait, like you didn't get any sleep. Maybe that's why you lost the HOH. I'm like, y'all, I didn't get any sleep all season and I
It's
won
yeah.
competitions. It had nothing to do with that. It was more of like, it finally was coming to the point where I'm like, wow, this game that I've been loving playing is coming to an end officially. Like it is ending today. And whether or not I win, this is a sad day for me because it's going to be all over. Like I remember I walked through the house, I looked at the house one last time and I was like studying, but I was also like I had been studying all season long. There's nothing that is going to prepare me more than this final HOH. Like I can study for 10 more hours and I could still end up second guessing myself like I did. Like I just didn't want
Yep.
to overwork my brain to the point of oblivion. Like I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. Like my final speech is going to come to my heart when I sit out there. I had like different points. I knew I wanted to mention that I was a gamer, but I was also like, say it if it flows, Morgan. Like I was so stuck on like what to say and how to say it that I just finally was just like, I went in the diary room. I cried for a little bit because I was like, wow, I had one hell of a game. And even if I don't win, I can stand firm on that and know that like I was the best player to play this season. And if I don't win, that does not discredit the fact that I was. And it doesn't take away from whoever is going to win this game, you
I
know?
agree. I don't like the narrative that if you are a fan of Ashley and thought she won, that means that okay, Morgan didn't play a great game, or that
Right.
if Morgan's my favorite player, that I think Ashley didn't deserve to win. Like,
For
no,
sure.
that's not how this works. And that I can't stand when people say that.
Yeah. I mean, as a, athlete, it's really tough because it's like, even in gaming world, like when I'm competing in tournaments against my friends, like sure, like temporarily you're an enemy of mine, but that doesn't mean I'm not an ally of yours. Like I was happy for Ashley when she went. I embraced her. I knew she was going to send me home before she even said anything. Um, but that doesn't mean that I can't take the time to celebrate her for. I mean, like that's why I said like before I left, like I know your story. Like you were on the block week one and you fought to get to where you are now. I'm so proud of you. Like there's moves that I feel like I did to protect her the whole time to make sure that she got as far as possible. And it is hard to read comments saying, what they're saying about, the difference between us or like why I didn't deserve to win or things like that. I think people should be able to look at it as like Ashley winning does not discredit my game and vice versa. Like there,
Exactly. And they
it
were
shouldn't
different
be
games.
discourse.
Like totally
Very
different
different
games.
games. Very different games.
That shit
Um,
drives me nuts.
yeah, it does. It does to me too. And I also feel like a lot of people have been saying like, "Oh, I was just a comp beast" and all these things. I feel like I, I would like it's
You
hard
were
because
driving a lot of the boat. Let's be real.
yes. And a lot of my,
It's crazy.
conversations with people were on my social game. Like, I mean, how do I go on Rachel and Keanu's block as a target and end up being an ally to both of them? Now, granted, loosely with Keanu, but like Keanu and I did come together because we wanted Lauren out. So essentially that is becoming an ally working together. Like I navigated the game as best as I could, like socially and competitively. And I tried my best to make sure that they were married perfectly to where I was able to navigate like which one do I want to lean on today? Like am I relying on social? Am I going to comp it out? Like, you know, um
It's
I
true.
just
You
did my
knew when
best
to pull
to
back and you knew when to
yeah.
turn it on. It's exactly. It's true.
Yeah, so I just like did my best to like be there for people, have conversations, but like one thing I do know is like there was not a single moment where anyone convinced me to do something I didn't want to do. Like I knew with every decision that I was going to make exactly what I was going to do. People could talk me blue in the face and it wasn't going to change anything. Like
Mm.
um that's just what it was.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because it seems like, all right, you knew that you had to cut Vince. You knew that was the move. Ashley knew she
Yeah.
had to cut you. Like that was the move. When
Right.
it came to Vince, I don't know the answer to this. I feel like he wasn't going to cut you, but how do you feel? Like
I
if
feel
he
like
won, which he
he
didn't, but
I feel like he wasn't going to either. And
yeah,
only because I remember he told me that if he were to have cut me, it would have been the end of like it would have burned all the bridges. Like, see, Vince isn't loyal. He wasn't loyal to any of us. And the
different
one person
story.
that
Yep.
kept him loyal, there like I truly think that Vince would have kept me and brought me to the final two.
I think I believe that as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to if you were against Ashley,
Mhm.
how do you think that would have played? I guess that means that you cut Vince, so
Right.
you had that big
Honestly,
move.
I feel like I would have beat Ashley, and that's just me calling a spade because the thing is, and like when I was going over like by myself in the diary room or other places, like when you have a player that essentially played very similar, like I feel like mine was slightly more honest and loyal because I genuinely was fully honest and loyal. I never spoke ill upon anybody, like in a personal level. Like obviously, Ashley and I were on the same side of the house, same side. But when you have two players where let's say we're both saying that we're honest and loyal. Okay, so that's off the plate now because it's the same thing. It's like it kind of
Right.
equals out, right? And then it's like social game that equals out. Like a lot of us, like both of us had like driving factors in a lot of things in the game. Like I planted the seed with Rachel to hopefully end up working with her, and that came to fruition. Was that part of Ashley? Probably because she was close with Rachel. Like there's a lot of things that could have happened. Um, and I think it really would have boiled down to competitions and navigating through the game. Like I feel like the way I played the game, I don't really need to speak on it. It speaks for itself. And I feel like if I was sitting next to either Vince or Ashley, I would have won the game.
I was gonna ask, yeah, if you were sitting next to Vince, I feel like that probably would have been the case as well.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
offense to Vince, but like,
No
yeah.
offense to Vince at all. I
Uh,
think Vince really, like he said, he did struggle with jury management. But I
he
also
said that to
feel
me too.
like, yeah, I also feel like the questions that were given to him, I don't know if he was fully prepared for them. I mean, like, this is the other thing that I loved about Vince and I, like, all the way up until the very end, like, we were giving each other questions, like, this is what you might receive from the jury. Like, we really had each other's backs. And that was something that I like admire about him was like, even when he knew with me like potentially in the back of his head that I wasn't going to take him. He was still there giving me questions, helping me study. And I don't know if it showed that. I know like the live feeders probably saw
We
that,
saw
but
it, yeah.
that was something that I was like, damn, this is going to kill me if I win this and cut him. But like, I'm so grateful because it's like, it really shows that like we really were to the end, to the very end. I even looked at him when I was on the block. I was like, look at us on the block. Like I just made a light out of it because it's like, it's a game.
It's
And
true. Yeah.
while it's like, this is unfortunate that we ended up next to each other on the block, not in final two. Like I was so happy for him that he was going to make the final two because he deserved to be there.
He was talking about that
And
a lot. Yeah. He wanted
Yeah.
to at least get second. He didn't want third. I know that. He was talking about
Yeah.
that.
So,
Uh,
I mean, I left with my head held high because I know I played one hell of a
as
game
you
and I
should.
know that nobody made me change my decision. Nobody told me what to do. Like I did exactly what I wanted to do. I knew what I was doing and I'm just really proud of the game that I played. And it's crazy because I honestly, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that I would have ended up third with a record and all this other stuff, I would have been like, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, good one. Way to boost my spirits just for me to get shut down. But like, I don't know, it's really humbling and it's crazy because it's like I was at peace that day. I remember like praying and being like, whoever's meant to win this game, let them win. Like even going into the HOH, like see, like I remember just like second guessing, and I remember just kind of like in my head just laughing, like, here we go, Morgan, second guessing, like in all the other booth comps, like it's okay, like you're human, and this is normal.
Exactly.
Like it's okay to mess up, it's okay to not win, it's okay that somebody else wins. It doesn't mean that I'm not deserving of the win or that I'm not deserving to receive my flowers. Like I know that that was something that I noticed on stage was like I I I was like, you know what? I'm super proud of myself, whether or not I have people coming up to me or not. Like I had alums, like Chelsea, Taylor, Derek come up to me and just commend me. So it's like,
Yeah.
while I didn't receive that from my fellow house guests that season, I received it from people that hold weight to their word and like what they did. And that was where I was like, you know what? Like this feels even better. Like, yes, I lost, but I'm receiving flowers from people that won this game and recognize my game. And like when you can like recognize game for game, like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, like I'm gonna be smiling.
Yeah, exactly. I do have a couple more questions about the finale.
Yeah.
One was you were gonna switch your question. What was the deal with that?
Yeah. So at first I was like, okay, I know a lot of what like Ashley is saying and things, and I could see myself in the certain moves that she was speaking on were very similar to things that I was also involved in. And so I wanted to know, like from Ashley, like what specific moves that she felt she really was the driving force on that didn't involve other people. Because I
Hmm.
think in the game, there's sometimes where, yes, we're all kind of working together to get something done, but there's also moments where somebody is the main person getting it done. And so I was just curious because I know that she was very instrumental when it came to Rachel, like them being a duo. And I just wanted to know more about her game that I didn't see that she felt deserved to win over Vinny because I was so attached to Vinny and I saw a lot of his game moves and I did see a lot of Ashley's game moves as well. But I was just curious. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? Like, I can tell that this jury is really going in on Vinny. So I'm just going to throw him a lob. I'm going to give him a question where he can decide how he wants to answer and
That's the way
stand
I
on
took it
business,
too.
if you will. Like I was
I
like,
took it
this
that.
is a chance. Like if you want to sit there and tell people how you played this game and make sure people know like this, I'm going to give you the question that you can do it. um
Especially because he was struggling. I feel like the end of his final speech I thought was really good.
yes,
But yeah,
agreed.
the jury questioning, I feel like he struggled a little bit. So
Right.
that's the way I took it too. I was like, okay, Morgan's his number one. She's gonna give him a layup to give him
Yes.
one more shot to like talk.
Right. And I
Yeah,
also feel like those questions, I think the jury, I mean, it's no secret that they were shocked when I walked out. I think those questions were them assuming that it was going to be me and Vince in the end. Because when I hear,
probably. Yeah.
like, I mean, at first I was like, oh, wow. Like, I mean, the questions were great and they were very valid. The one thing that I wish was different is that the person who comes out in third place has a little bit more time to speak to the jury because it's like you just kind of go out there, you sit on your stool, you ask a question, but by then, in my opinion, like the jury has already spent so much time with each other that they probably already know who they want to win, or they have like a list of like who they would want to vote for first.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the jury voted for who they thought was going to win the game, and Ashley won the game, and that's that. Like I'm proud of her. Like this game is not easy to do, and it's definitely not for the weak.
That's true. Yeah, I know a lot of the jury, the pre-jury. I don't know how much you've spoken to many of them, but is that another thing where like, listen, we're all processing this differently. Like maybe there'll be a time where we can all talk to certain people, but like right now, like, I'm just taking it in as I go along kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be straight up. Like for me, when I see and hear things that start going to a personal level, that's just kind of where, for me, that's it. Like, I think that we're all adults and we're allowed to talk about each other's game and where we feel like our game may not have been as great or whatever. But once it starts kind of going to a personal level and feeling more, you know, on that type of thing, it's just not my cup of tea. And that's just like respectfully speaking. Like it was really tough to come out. And I remember when we were in the house, I like was saying like, oh, I can't wait to see this person. I'm excited to see if, this person is doing this or that. And then you come out to all of this
So
just
much shit.
talk. And it's like, okay, interesting. Like, I'm going to clock that. I'm going to note that because me personally, like, I just am a very big advocate for protecting your peace and knowing how to keep your mental in a good space and not allow anything or anyone get to you and make you think differently about yourself or anything. Like misery loves company, right? And like I just prefer not to be in that type of company. Like I know that I played one hell of a game and I know that I am a genuine like person and if other people feel differently then like that's their business. Like I really don't care. And I don't care to try to um mend things that essentially I never started in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like I was playing a game. This was all game moves. It had nothing to do personal. I mean, like even you said it yourself. I never spoke ill about anyone on a personal level, like ever, because to me, this is a game. This has nothing to do with someone's personal life, what they do for a living, who they like, who they don't, whatever. Like this was strictly game moves. And if that ends up getting outside, like, for those that didn't feel as great about me, then that's okay. Like
Yeah.
it is what it is. Like I'm not going to like allow that to take my mental to a place it doesn't need to go.
Yeah. You got to protect your peace. That is very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real quick, I already know the answer to this. I mean, Vince was your number one ally, but like people, I guess they want like, why'd you give Vince your vote? Like, did you think he was gonna get another vote at least, or no?
Honestly, I thought he might have if the questions were answered a little bit better. I really feel like he wasn't as prepared for the question. Actually, I won't say as prepared. I think instead of like taking some time just to think and then answer, like he's an overthinker. I think he just was kind of just word vomiting because he was just trying to get
Yeah.
everything out. And instead of just like taking the time to just answer, I truly feel like a player who can play this season, be HOH week 1, win 4 HOHs, piss off half the house, still have them as out. Like people still leaned
He
into
was
Vinny.
lying to, I mean, I told him this, so it's not like, but he was like lying to Keanu for no reason, lying to this, and you're right, like Keanu would still be like, "Oh, Vince is my guy," and I'm
Let's
like,
work
"What
together.
the?"
Yes. So I'm like, if you want to talk about a social game, someone who literally has pissed off the whole house, but somehow still has them not coming for him, I'm flabbergasted by that. Like,
This is pretty wild.
that's insane, Like, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't discredit from Ashley's social game whatsoever, but Vince played one hell of a game. And I think a lot of times when you have someone like Vince who is able to maneuver the game and end up in the final 2 chairs, it's kind of like you can't ignore how he got there. Like, you just can't. I think it has to
Yeah.
be something to take into consideration. Um,
I just
I
wonder
think
if it was because you guys were such a duo that it was hard for them to separate that.
Right. I mean, I said to Vince all the time, like, people should have put us up on the block week after week, just like Keanu and Kelly. But luckily for us, when you have someone like Kelly, who is just brilliant in mental comps, and Keanu, who is just a beast, it worked out for us. Like it worked out in our favor. And to be fair, at that time, I wasn't winning competitions, which was great for me. I didn't want to win competitions. So it didn't make me come up like as big of a threat until it was kind of too late. And the numbers were pretty even, where it's like, you know, Vince and I did exceptionally well. Like I won't say just poster. I think both of us had exceptionally well games throughout the whole season, but especially put like jury phase. Like we just,
It's
I mean,
very, yeah. I mean, I definitely think you guys are going to go down as one of the most iconic duos in Big Brother. I mean, public facing, clear target duos. It wasn't
yeah,
a secret, which again, no hate to those people. I think all of these are great games, but
Right.
yeah, it was just very, very impressive. And as I wind down here, like, do you feel today, and I hope you do, but I don't know, that you get enough credit for sort of the game you played?
I feel like a lot of people are more caught up in the narrative that the show
Yes.
gave
Okay.
to me instead of actually looking at the game that I played. Because I still stand on the fact that there are previous Big Brother winners that are men that played a very similar game to me and did not receive the hate that I'm receiving. Um, and like I said, everyone to each their own on what they believe and what they don't believe. I'm not going to try to like persuade anybody or not. I feel like if anything, it's like I love having things like this. It's an open conversation. Like let's talk about
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
because conversation is what is going to help, and that's what's going to bring light to things and help people maybe understand. But like I do hope that people can see that like how I played in this game was to play a game. And I was very like intentional and like caring about people. Like I genuinely wanted people to play their best game. And I never wanted anybody to feel like they didn't deserve to be there or didn't belong there, because it's like we all gave up our lives for X amount of days or months, however long they were there, to do this. Like we didn't have to do that. And it's scary to go into a house with 16, I mean, usually it's 15 other people, but 16 other people, to
Right.
put yourself out there, to fight for your life, to try to trust people that you don't know, to deal with the BB paranoia, to connect yourself with people that you feel closest with, knowing that they could go home or not, worried about yourself. Like it is so much on a plate that you're trying to balance, all while trying to make it to the end for $750,000. I didn't even think about the money till final three when I was brought into the DR and they're like, hey, like, how does it feel? You're like right around the corner from 750K. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like I was just, I'm a gamer. I came there to play a game, one of the best games that exists. So it's like, I was just in there having fun. Like I wanted to make connections, hopefully connections that I'd have outside of the house. Like, am I leaving with a lot of them? No, but I'm leaving with a few. And I'm glad for that. So it's like, I think if anything, I just hope that people can like hear me out and like kind of look at me as a player and not, just this narrative that's going around. Like I played my ass off. I put literally blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I got injured on almost every competition. Like I was so passionate about this game, and I was passionate about my allies making it to the end. Because I remember in the final three, I looked at both Vinny and Ashley, and I was like, I feel so accomplished that like I protected two of my most favorite people in this house to get to where I am now. Like if I lose this game, I can at least know that like I did everything I could to be the ally that I wanted to be the ally that I knew I would be. And I protected myself, and now I can kind of look back and be like, hey, if they ever want to call me again, like I'm ready. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that
Like
was
it was
my next question, Morgan. Would you ever put yourself through this again?
I would. I mean, would I do it tomorrow? Absolutely not. But
Right.
I think I would, because there's something so beautiful about going into a game where you test so much about yourself. I mean, like in my real life, um, I was always afraid of like overly, not afraid. I struggled with people who were overly dominant about things. Like I was always a pushover growing up, and like I struggled with like validity and like feeling like I was enough for people, and like even like being black enough for people. Like there was just a lot of things. And I knew going into a house like this where I'm at the point in my life where I do feel enough for myself. I don't need validation for anyone. I can go into a house, play a game, and not let anybody's opinions of me affect how I play this game. Like I came in to play the game. I came in to align myself with people, support other people, uplift other people, and have conversations that we're meant to have as far as like just connection. And it was so like beautiful. Like it really was. As crazy as it is,
Yeah.
it was such a beautiful experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't change a thing. Like I really feel like I'm just thankful to have even had the opportunity in the first place, especially because I thought I wasn't getting it in the first place in general. So the fact that I even got to and I made it to the end is just so insane to me. And like, I don't know, it's crazy because it's like I usually when I talk about this like to my friends, like I get like choked up because it's just like, oh, it's like
Morgan,
when
you
you
killed it. You
it's like
did
when you put
great.
your yeah, it's like when you put everything into something that you believe in and you believe in yourself. Like I remember like before every competition, like I just had this feeling like I'm gonna win this. Like I believe in myself. Like when you actually have that feeling of believing in yourself, believing in your allies, and like even knowing that like in the HOH lockdowns, like I'm hanging out with people that want me out, but like I'm enjoying their company. I'm enjoying talking about life and learning about them. Like it's such a crazy, beautiful experience because you're learning about your enemies and you're loving your enemies, but you know as soon as that lockdown is over, it's game on. And it's such an interesting experience and it's unlike anything anybody will ever understand unless they step foot in that fucking house, you know?
It's so impressive that you can compartmentalize this because, it's hard for some people, but because you've been in the gaming community, I'm sure that also helps. But yeah,
Yeah,
whatever you're seeing online, I'm sure there is a contingent of the internet
for
that
sure.
is saying one thing, but everything I'm on my algorithm is you played an impressive ass game, and there's no doubt in my mind that you'll get many phone calls to play many other games. So that's no
Yeah.
doubt in my mind.
I hope so. It was fun. I like genuinely just did not expect this for me. And now that I can see like what I'm capable of, because like I'll be real, like going in as a 33-year-old, like turning 34, like
That's
I did the
old, right?
math.
Quote
Yeah,
unquote.
right. It's old. And like I did the math and there was at least 10, 20-year-olds. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to get steamrolled by these kids. Like this is gonna be so embarrassing. But like I was also like, no, like I want to also show that like women and my age, like we can compete just like everybody else. And like that's the other thing I'll say is like when you have competitors in the house like Keanu, Lauren, Kelly, like people who pushed me. Like I remember even in like the magnifying thing, like Lauren and I were next to each other and that girl was just killing it. And I just felt it's crazy when you see even Rachel, like I said this before, like when you see people that like start inspiring you to be better at your game and just like keep pushing you. It's like I loved that's why I wanted people to play their best game because if they played their best game, then it's going to force me to play mine. And it's going to make me feel like okay, you know what? Like Rachel when she made sure Keanu was on her team, like now I'm going to be more fearless and I'm going to
Mm.
not be afraid to make moves because why should I? Like I'm going to fight for every single vote. I'm going to fight for every single ally that I have, even if it's just a 1 week ally. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm just going to keep fighting and I'm going to keep going through time after time even if I have allies and enemies coming for me and saying stuff about me because like I also know that like a lot of people were saying stuff about me in the house when I was defending them, they were saying stuff about me, but like I just didn't care to even worry about that because I was so focused on my own game that I'm like, I'm just going to do whatever I can to get to the end. And if I win, then I can sit there and say that I won. But like I got third and I still feel like a winner. And I love that.
As you should, as you should. Couple other questions because I know people are going to ask.
Okay.
Real quick, would you ever play with Vince again as like a duo or some? If they ever put you in the house again, would you be happy about that, or you're like, oh shit, we're gonna be a target?
Oh my God, we would be a target week one. Our asses would go up on that block time and time and time and time again. But I mean, he is the HOH king and I am the veto queen. So if that does happen, they better watch out because they know what we're about. But like 100%, we would get targeted. But I mean, I'm just down to play again. Although I will say Rachel, made a good point where she was like, she didn't care to play with new players because it does make sense when you have players that are kind of learning the game. So would I want to play with people who haven't played this game? I don't know because I feel like if people watched my season and know how I played, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, you gotta go. So I would love to play with vets. I'm not saying I'm a veteran. I played this once, but I would love to play with people who've
No,
already
you're
played this
bad.
game.
That means you
And
played once at least. I mean,
yeah. But yeah, I mean, a duo season would be crazy, but also I'm terrified of a duo season because there are some deadly duos in the past
that's true.
that like I would be terrified of too. So I'm like, oh, maybe like we wouldn't be as deadly of a duo, but like either way, I would love to play the game. Solo or not, like I would love to go back in the house and play the game.
Any other games or shows that interest you?
I know a lot of people have been mentioning the challenge and traders. I haven't seen either of them, but I know the challenge involves like a lot of like physical and like mental
Yes,
comps.
very physical.
And I don't know, I guess like on traders it'd be like a faithful or a traitor. Sorry,
It's like
I
it's like Mafia. Yeah, Faithful Trader. Um,
okay.
I think you would be very good at that too, to be
Okay. The
honest.
question is like I mean I would like to think I'd be a faithful. But I don't know because like I don't know the dynamics of the game, so I don't actually know.
They just pick the production just picks, so you don't
Okay.
really get a choice. You do get they
Okay,
do
cool. So
ask
I'll be
you what
either.
you would. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. But
Oh,
again,
an
I
amazing race. I
Okay.
love Amazing Race. Like I've
Are
watched
you
Amazing Race since
watching?
I was a kid. I haven't watched recently, but I do know that like there are some Big Brother alums in there. I spoke to them like after the show. It was really cool. I got to like hang out with a bunch of the Big Brother alums. And that's the other thing that like, all of them were just like, "Oh my God, Morgan, your game." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Taylor, Joseph." Oh my you guys are saying this to me? Like somebody slapped me in the face. Like I'm panicking. Like there's no way you guys are saying that to me. Like I remember when I got a freaking DM from Janelle, girl,
She was
I
rooting for
about
you.
passed out.
She was tweeting you about you the whole season.
Oh my God, Janelle is my queen. I love her so much. I love that girl so much. And I'm so glad that she knows me now because now I don't feel so creepy, like always being like, Janelle is everything and everything. But like, yeah, it's just cool. But yeah, I would do any show. Like it was fun. I really had a great time with production. Um, as crazy as this season was and like as wild as the narrative was, like I still really feel like I did my best to navigate to the end. And I hope that people can respect my game and, be open to me. You know what I mean? Because it's like at
I
the end of the
think,
day, like
of course.
I just I did my best. And that's all I can stand on is my best.
Yeah, you mentioned alums real quick. A lot of people comparing you to Vanessa,
Yeah.
which is a compliment, by the way.
Mhm.
Did you hear from Vanessa? Vanessa's kind of like does her own thing. She's not really in the community, but I didn't know if you had heard from
Yeah.
her or not.
I
Similar.
haven't. I actually
Okay.
didn't I haven't watched her season, but I want to binge watch it. I actually might do that tonight because everyone's been talking about Vanessa, even like Dan from season 10. I love Dan from season 10.
Me too. He's my
Um
favorite.
oh my God, he's so iconic. But yeah, I love that she's a poker player. My dad is a games dealer, so like I also knew a lot about like when to show cards, when not to show cards. I would love
She
just to
was
even like talk to her,
sorry.
just to be like, how did you feel about your game? But maybe I'll just
Yeah.
watch it and learn that way. But I also know that like the show is the show. They do film it the way they need to, but I would love just to talk to her and just kind of I mean, honestly, at the same time, I'm also like, if everyone is speaking to her like this, like, I don't want to insult her by her thinking that I'm anything like, like, because, people are like, oh, you're
No.
compared to her. And I'm like, well, if she's like as great, like
She
maybe I'm
also
just like
didn't
just
win.
underneath.
She also didn't win, and she controlled a lot of the votes. I think she was a little bit. She was more of an emotional player in the sense, an emotional manipulation. I would call it like
Okay.
super smart.
Mhm.
Basically, got her way, like doing everything, but like would probably like be crying a little bit more and stuff like that. Then you wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily do that. But again, just like
Yeah.
so smart.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a compliment, of course.
Okay, good. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I heard she's a legend, so that's
Oh,
incredible.
yeah. One of the best players to never win, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, Morgan, because
Mhm.
people are gonna die. This is 3 hours long, but I know they're gonna be happy to
I
hear from
know.
you. I'm sweating. It's
I'm
fine.
so glad it was with you. I've been sweating for like an hour. I was like, that's why I'm like going like this, like my back is wet. I'm like, oh
I
my
have
God,
like a fake tan on, so I can't like. It's just a whole thing.
we're a
Um,
mess.
we're a mess, guys, but we're doing this for you because everyone wants to
Yes.
hear from Morgan. But yeah,
Yes.
my last question is like, what's next for Morgan? Where can people follow you? If people want to get involved with
Yeah.
your Twitch, your Discord, like tell me.
Yes. Okay. So I'm obviously a streamer on Twitch, twitch.tv/modelmorg. That's where I do a lot of my gaming streams, IRL streams. I love that space. I've been building it for 5 years, and so many already people have like been just overflowing in there and just showing so much support. I can't wait for like my first stream back. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on my other platforms, it's _modelmorg for Instagram and for Twitter. I'm really big on Twitter. I'm still learning about Blue Sky. It's crazy how there's so many apps to like balance. Like, I mean, even like I have friends that are like, you should really like post on TikTok because I just usually post my gaming clips on TikTok. And they're like, you should go live. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand that app.
it's a
You know what I
lot.
mean? Like, guys, I'm 34. Okay. Like it's 90s. I'm millennial. Like I'm very
I
used to
feel
like
that.
MySpace and Vine. So like, Twitter's my thing, Instagram, but yeah, Twitch is definitely where people can find me. That's my
I love
jam.
that. I love that,
Yeah.
Morgan. I'm so happy that we got to connect. Thank you for doing this and trusting
No,
me with your
thank
first
you.
interview.
Yes, I'm so glad it was you.
Oh yeah, thank you. So everyone, please like, subscribe, go check out Morgan on Twitch and all that good stuff. And yeah, hopefully Morgan will talk again in the future. If you ever want to talk reality
Yeah.
TV or competitions, please let me know.
Oh my God,
Always
for
invited back.
sure. We can always like dive into like the actual comps because some of those, I swear to God, like the wall comp, I want to fight the wall comp too. Oh my God, I can't stand that. Oh, that was crazy.
That'll be your redemption arc too when you come back for Big Brother one day. It's
Oh,
like that freaking
100%.
wall comp. We need to
I'm just
send
not going to talk about it
Adrian.
this time because I don't want to embarrass myself again because I literally
Okay.
slipped and I was like, of course, Morgan, of course you slip and fall.
I was gonna say Adrian like built one in his backyard, so maybe he'll send
I
send it.
learned about that. I was like, oh my God. He told me that on finale night. And I was like, oh my God, like this is, hello. I was spot on getting that kid out because I'm like, he was so brilliant. He was so strong. Like my
Yeah.
reads on people, man. I knew, and I'm so glad I trusted my gut. And I'm so glad I had allies that trusted my gut too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Morgan.
No, thank you.